Well, now he says 1 minute. Come on. Where
Now
you
we're
been?
late.
And you're on the air in 5, 3, 2. All right. Welcome this evening to tonight's Board of Selectmen meeting for Groveland. Today's Monday, September 17, 2018. The time is 6:30, and we will open the meeting if you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I see we have no public comments, so I'll make something real quick. I just want to thank all the first responders of our town. There were a number of dedicated men and women that went down in to Lawrence, North Andover, and Andover in that terrible disaster that happened last Thursday. Thank God they were all safe and sound upon their return. I know we reached out to Andover and North Andover, neighborly thing, and offered our basically our buildings if they needed additional shelter. I thought it was the right thing to do at the time. I think they would have done the same for us. I just want to say what brave men and women we do have in this fire department that never gave a second thought to rush onto that vehicle and run down to that basically what appeared to be a war zone. Can't thank them enough. I think we should all be very proud of these individuals, very thankful that they are so committed to their profession, and we're all lucky to have them. Also, we did check it out. There are none of those gas lines under our town. That was the first thing we looked into. So we're all safe, and hopefully we remain that way. So saying that, we'll move the meeting right along. I need an approval for payroll warrant 1911 in the amount of $155,727.72.
Seconded.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So seeing none, all those in favor?
Yes.
Motion to approve bill warrant 19-11 in the amount of $280,005.12, which breaks down as follows. Town, $96,898.05. Water and sewer, $15,741.51. Payroll withholding, $4,737.61. Light bill is $100,954.26. Grants and revolving, $53,630.35. And Chapter 90, $8,043.34. Any discussion? Can we have a breakdown of the split between grants and revolving? Is that possible? I know that Selectman Watson had asked that question last week, but we weren't able to identify it.
I actually have the breakdown from last week. I didn't realize it was something you wanted on an ongoing basis.
Um,
Because we have several, there's a lot of grants and revolving and
Only if it's
special
material.
revenue.
Selectman Watson, do you feel that number is material to you?
Yeah, I'd
At
like to
this
hear
time?
some of the grants. And,
Maybe if we can break it down, say an 80-20, it was 80% or whatever.
Yeah,
break it
off the
down.
top of my head, I don't know. I'll have to look it up,
All right,
so.
we can move that till next week, and I don't think it's a big number this week.
Okay.
To ponder it, do you,
Yeah, so didn't you say add last week's?
Mhm.
Yeah, sure.
Well, can we have a second? Can we finish this vote?
Second.
And then I can do next week's,
okay,
last week's,
we have a motion and a second, all those in
Second
the bill
favor?
warrants,
Second bill warrant.
and then I can recap last week.
Terrific. Do you have a run?
I'm sorry, did you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
So last week was $122,570.90. 107 of that was community preservation monies. The rest was really small. $6,800 for police dispatch, $1,600 the fire safe grant, $1,600 the VZ Park revolving, $475 the library donation account, $242 from the Council on Aging revolving account, and $1,686 was a rental deposit that we returned because someone moved out of VZ Park.
Terrific. I believe that'll satisfy your question now?
Yeah, yeah.
Terrific. Okay, we're moving right along to the appointment of Kelsey Fitzgerald of 180 School Street, Groveland, to the position of a library assistant effective September 18th, 2018. The position is for 18.5 hours per week at a rate of $12.24 an hour. With this appointment, Kelsey resigns her position of library page. So this looks like a step up? Go ahead, you might as well, go ahead.
And so Darcy, our library director, is here as well, if you'd
Oh,
like to hear from
okay.
her.
I don't know, do you want to address the? She looks quite capable to answer most of the questions, I think, if not all of them. Selectman Wood, start with you. Do you have any?
No, actually, I read through the documents. She looks very well informed and capable, so I don't have any questions.
Selectman Carpenter?
Nothing, thank you.
Selectman Dunn?
No, I know who you are, you work for me, so I know what you can do and all that good stuff, so
Nepotism.
you're high on my list. Thank you.
Selectman Watson?
No, I read over the paperwork, seems well qualified, and I'll make the motion that we appoint Kelly Fitzgerald, library assistant, effective September 18th.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No, this is
Are
going to
you
be too
happy
easy
with,
for her.
Ms. Darcy, are you happy with the selection?
I'm very happy with the selection.
Okay, all those in favor? Yep.
You didn't even have to say anything. That's great.
But everybody gets to know you now. Now when they walk into the library, they'll know the face, they can put a face with the name. Be great. Next, we have the appointment of Mary
Hohenstein.
Hohenstein of Salem, Mass. Division of Library Page, effective September 18th, 2018. This is a part-time position of up to 11 hours per week at a rate of $11.22 per hour. With this appointment, Mary resigns her position as library assistant. Holy cow, so we have just like a waterfall effect going on? So now we'll be looking for a library assistant, I imagine.
It just seems that they exchanged positions.
Yes, in essence. We still have a library assistant and a library page position open, but these two just happen to be swapping at the same time.
Okay. All right. Anyone like to?
And Mary is here as well, if you'd like to speak with her.
If you would, yeah, sure, why not? Again, this way people can get to know, put a face with the name with the face, it'd be great.
Hello.
Any questions? We'll start at this end. Selectman Watson.
No,
Selectman Dunn.
Have you driven from Salem to Groveland at the rush hour?
I have, yes.
It's a pain in the neck, so leave
Uh,
early.
It's not too bad. The only problem I have is just that light in Georgetown. Once I
Oh,
get to-
really?
Yeah,
No,
it's
I
fine.
go down there to work and it can be nothing but a nightmare, so,
Oh, no, I've been doing it. It's okay. I'm leaving
Okay.
at the right time, yeah.
good. Welcome aboard.
Selectman Carpenter.
Nothing, thank you.
Selectman Wood.
So you're swapping positions essentially because these hours are better for you now?
I have a family obligation, and I needed to cut down on the hours that I had, so.
Okay, and this fits in nicely then?
Yes,
No?
yeah.
I'm good.
I have a motion to try to get rid of that light in Georgetown Center, so I don't know.
Need a bridge.
So I guess that's the end of discussion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Was there a
Do we-
motion and a second?
Yeah.
I believe so, wasn't it?
I don't remember a
No, there's no
motion.
motion or
No?
second.
I'll
on
make
this.
the motion that we
Okay.
appoint Mary, library page, effective, excuse me, September 18th.
Seconded?
For any discussion? Good. All those in favor? All right, I got a little ahead of myself. That's okay.
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
in
you.
your new positions. Moving right along, we have discussion and possible vote. Darcy Lepore, Library Director, to provide an update on the library upcoming programs. We're excited to hear that. Let's go.
Yes, lots of programs to talk about. So I guess I'll go kids and then adult.
Whatever suits you.
Sure. So tomorrow, we have a taught yoga story time for kids. It's very exciting. Doing very well. It's at 10:30 a.m. So any parents watching or any caregivers watching, it's tomorrow at 10:30. let's see, next Monday, we are collaborating with the police department on a vehicle night, formerly known as Touch a Truck. So that's Monday, the 24th, 5 to 7 at the Pines. And then Saturday, the 29th, we have a story walk. So a story walk is basically, we laminate all the pages of a book, a picture book, and we place them up around the library, and kids and their families can walk around and read the book. So we have that going up on that Saturday, the 29th, and we have another kid yoga program for that day on, at 11 a.m. Let's see. And those are our big kid ones that are coming up. And then for adult programs, next Wednesday, we have a program about Tony Conigliaro at 6:30 at the library.
What night is that?
Next Wednesday, the 26th, at 6:30. Let's see if there's anything before that. Okay. So Thursday, October 4th. I know we're getting into October now, but at 7 p.m. at Nichols Village, we're collaborating with Nichols. We have mystery author Paul Dworin coming to talk about his mystery books. Let's see. Also, don't know if you'd like to hear about later in October, or else I could come back.
I don't know, what have you got?
Well, you're here.
Okay, so,
Come on, shoot.
so, Monday,
come back, too, if you want.
October 22nd at 6:30 p.m. We have author Allison O'Leary coming to talk about hiking in New England. Her new book is about hiking, and about hiking near Boston specifically. And then on Monday, October 29th at 6, we have a program about the 100-year anniversary of the flu pandemic. So those are our big ones that are coming up.
They sound very interesting.
We have a lot of interesting stuff.
Yes. Any comments from the board? Selectman Watson?
No.
Selectman Dunn?
No, thank you.
Selectman Carpenter?
Nothing, thank you.
Selectman Wood?
I'm good.
The police car event, the vehicle event, what kind of vehicles will they be exhibiting?
So in the past, we've had a lot of different ones. We've had fire trucks, ambulances, a race car. Selectman Watson might know something about that. Highway trucks, we've had Coast Guard boats. Last year we had a mail truck, we've had tractors, we've had a whole lot of different vehicles.
And little kids are out to kind of climb on board and,
Yeah,
you know,
they can go inside them, sit inside the police cars, they can, they talk to the policemen and the firemen, and it's very exciting for them.
Now, last year, if I recall correctly, they had some kind of exhibition with a police dog.
Yes, I'm not 100% sure if that's happening this year. I will be able to advertise that soon, but one of our library assistants is getting in touch with all the extra non-town people who are doing that. But that was fun. I hope we have that.
Yeah, that'd be great, that'd be
Yeah.
great. And Tony Conigliaro is a big fan.
Yeah, you should come to that program.
I'm gonna try, believe me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Linda. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate all the hard work you folks do over at the library. I'm sure everybody here appreciates it too. And it's a nice chance to say thank you for all your hard work and your efforts, and keep it up. And thank you for informing us about all the great events you have coming up.
Well,
Appreciate it.
thank you to all of you, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Mr. Michael Dempsey to recap the summer activities at VC Park.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mike Dempsey from the Conservation Commission, and I'm joined by our event manager, Vanessa Lopez.
Hello.
Hey.
So, we've had a lot going on at BZ Park, late spring through now. So I'll go through some of the things, and then if you have any questions along the way, certainly stop me. Some of this you've heard before, you know, I've told you some of the things that were going on, but most of these things are winding down, so it's a good time to tell you about them. So, we just completed a handicap accessibility evaluation of the park. I know that the VFW members, some members were in here and talking about the difficulty they had in getting around in the park. The park, the building, main building is an old building, you know, and it's not completely handicapped accessible. So we joined with Northeast Independent Living Program to have them come in and take a look at things. And what they did was put together a transition plan for us. It's my estimate that based on what they've told us, you know, it's gonna take about $200,000 to make the building completely accessible. But it doesn't have to be done right away. We're gonna have to go after some grants. I've been working with Rebecca Oldham in planning on, she's doing a town-wide evaluation for accessibility, and then once that's done, in 2020, we'll be able to apply for some state funds to do some of the larger things. And I am pretty sure we're going to apply for some CPA funds under the historic category to do some of the lower-end projects. So that's, you know, that's gonna be more of a long-term thing. We had our summer camp, the Treetop Summer Camp was at the park for the second year this year. They had a 6-week session that services approximately 50 children per week. They get all their inspections from the Board of Health, and, you know, the town's covered by their insurance policy. And I think you wanted to know, they pay a total of $850 per week. We end up netting after the VZ ends up netting about $25.50 from that for after the expenses of paying our event manager. And so that helps, because what we did was we took that money and we made a couple of payments with the help of Denise towards the insurance. So we were able to put that money towards the insurance. The next project, which was completed in July, was the roadway project. And I think I mentioned this before, if you haven't been up there, drive up there, because it's amazing. You know, after 50 years of this old, dangerous, and unsightly road, it's like a new place. And that was thanks to the citizens of Groveland voting CPA funds to cover that last spring, and also with the great assistance of the Groveland Highway Department, and Mr. Bob Arakalian really helped us out on that. So we're very appreciative of that. And as I say, it's really transformed the place. You've got some good comments from people coming in, right?
Oh, people are thrilled. I mean, it was a little tough when it was done, but they did it in a really short amount of time, and it's beautiful. So definitely helps us out.
The parking lot and the road?
Yeah.
Yes, I've been
Yeah,
up there.
the
It is nice.
driveway
Did it come out
was-
nice?
It was in rough shape, so
It was in rough shape.
huge improvement.
We are completing the Johnson's Pond water lily removal project this week. Will be the last week that they're working there. So the idea on this project for this year was to do a pilot project. We received $50,000 from the state, and we received CPA funds towards the project. So this year's project will have removed about a 6 or 7-acre portion of the pond lilies and enable access to the boat launch at the bottom of VZ Park's driveway all the way through to the main part of the pond. And we're also going to be seeing, you know, what the effect is on it for next year. And so we're planning some follow-up work with the company just to see what they can accomplish for us next year or in future years. And going along with that, in this past May, we received word that we got a $20,000 grant from the DCR, the State Department of Conservation and Recreation, thanks to Senator Tarr and Representative Mira. They worked on that for over a year with us, and we were able to put the new picnic area in at the bottom of the VZ entrance, along with a boat launch and canoe racks and picnic tables, with the hope that we'll make it a more attractive place to go and take away some of the clogging up of the other side of the pond that happens when too many people try to use adequate parking. And it's going to be, once the weed removal project's done, be a great place to get into the pond. And the final thing is, we are working with Cameron Engineering on the Johnson's Pond Management Study. This was, again, another project I know I talked about before. It's a CPA-funded project to study the Johnson's Creek watershed that was ordered by Mass DEP. And the good thing is it's going to give us the ability to go back and file for grants for things like culvert replacements, flow management control devices, and also flood control for all the way from the Boxford line down to the Merrimack. They're also assessing the water quality as it flows through Groveland, and I'm expecting that final report to be in by December. So that's, in a nutshell, you know, what's going on at VZ Park and in the pond. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, I imagine we have a few, so we'll start at this end of the table this time. And Selectman Wood, you have the floor.
Yes, the lily pad project.
Yes.
How much does that cost?
This year, we spent a total of about $65,000.
That was CPA or grant money, wasn't it?
That was a combination of CPA and grant money. So this year, $50,000 came from the state DCR again, and $15,000 towards the permitting process came from CPA funds. So that project is not done. As I say, we're looking at future years. What we're trying to do is use the CPA as a matching fund to go after some other grants, and also to determine, you know, what can we really do with the pond.
So that was this year's spend,
Yes.
65,000. And are you expecting that to be constant?
No.
65,000 a year?
No, I mean, that's the reason why.
Or every 3 years, or whatever the determination of the reoccurrence of the lily pads tends to be?
No, I'm expecting, actually, I'm expecting a report from the company that's working on Solitude Lake Management to give me a report back based on what they've done, along with the work they've done on the Johnson's Pond and Creek Management Study, to see what possibilities we're gonna have going forward. In addition to seeing what happens next spring, you know, how much of it comes back, if any, and what happens to the water lilies that are still there. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but, you know, it's a costly project.
Oh, yeah, it is
Yeah.
costly.
Yeah,
And I think the last time I looked over there, might have been a week or so ago, it looked like there was basically just a pathway from the VC Park driveway up towards the middle of the pond,
yeah,
where both sides were covered in lily pads, I guess they are.
yeah.
It seems like a lot of money to
Yeah,
keep them
no,
out.
absolutely, and that's why I say, you know, I think before we I mean, we can't commit to a long-term thing. What are we gonna do to go forward with it? This was the more expensive route. The cheaper route would be to put poison chemicals in the water. But, you know, the commission didn't think that was a good idea.
No, I don't agree that that's a
Yeah,
good idea
so-
either. I mean, it's a lesser of two evils,
Yes,
but it's an
right.
expensive lesser of two
Right.
evils.
Or the other option is to do nothing with it, and the pond kind of dies over a
It chokes
period of
itself,
years.
basically.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the problem that I'm foreseeing is that if you don't keep up with it and the cost of it, you basically just threw that money out anyways, because you-
No, I mean, it's not gonna just come back the same as it was this year. You know, obviously, they've done this in a number of other ponds, and it's successful. There are other ways to deal with it. We could invest in our own machinery to do it. You know, we could do small maintenance projects every single year. There's a number of ways. We're gonna have to look at it to really see what the best way to approach it is. But I don't want to just keep throwing money blindly at it.
so if it was 65, I'm sorry to keep talking. So if it was 65,000 this year, what does a
Yeah.
machine cost?
A new machine, to
Are
buy
you,
one of those.
new, used, I mean, rebuilt,
Yeah,
whatever?
I've heard that, you know, other lake management, privately owned lakes have bought their own for somewhere in the, you know, $30,000 to $40,000 range.
So for 65,000, you could have purchased one.
No, because part of that was permitting,
Okay, so for
Yeah.
45,000 or 50,000,
yeah.
you could have purchased one,
Yeah.
And
if we knew
possibly-
what-
yeah,
If we
and-
were knew
right.
what we were doing, you know.
and you could have paid someone $15 an hour to run that
Yeah.
machine.
So maybe
And
that's.
then we'd
the way
have
to
our
go.
own maintenance going forward on it and not have any other cost other than labor.
Right, so that might be the most logical way to go going forward, you know, now that we've seen what it takes to do it.
I mean, I would have preferred that route to begin with, and then I would have volunteered to do it.
Well, you know, it was a little complicated because of that.
It wasn't
state-
meant to be funny, I mean, but, I mean, come on, that's.
No, but, you know, part of the problem was that state money that we got, the $50,000, that had to be spent by July 1st. So we had to commit to the lake management company.
Mhm.
We were unable to go say, all right, we're gonna stop this now and go spend this money on buying a piece of equipment. So,
And it'll take time to see if it works
right.
for next year too. so you
Right,
don't wanna
we
invest
don't
in-
know, right, we don't know if buying the hydro rake is even a viable option, but this will tell
I
us.
hope it is, it's $65,000 we put towards cleaning up lily pads, so I
Yeah.
hope that's a viable
Well,
option.
again,
Well, I mean, I hope the research showed that this is the way to do this, other than, hey, we're gonna try this, and it's rather expensive, you know, gamble.
right.
Okay, sorry.
Selectman Carpenter,
Nothing, thank you.
Selectman Dunn.
Always have a lot to say. All right, so we'll start off with me watching a conservation meeting on TV, and the house got re-rented, and you guys were saying that you got an increase in rent. Will that increase in rent be going toward the insurance?
I mean, it's
Well,
not a
we,
huge
we put all of our money, you know, I don't segregate any money. The increase in rent was $150 a month. What we're trying to do, I'm trying to work with Denise to be able to pay as much as we can from the revolving fund towards the insurance. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
So I can't say that that's gonna go towards it,
So it's
but,
gonna go someplace toward Denise, toward wherever the bill gets paid or whatever,
To the general expenses.
general fund?
yes, right.
Okay,
right.
thank you. You talked about the handicap accessible grant. The lieutenant governor was in here, and we went to Boston back about a year ago, and the lieutenant governor has all kinds of grants today ready to go for handicap accessibility, door changes, anything to do with handicap accessibility, they're big on it. And she said they're not hard to get a hold of, so if you started with her office, that's the place to start, because they were basically giving the money out at that point. And we had been talking to them about the the new center we were putting behind the fire station, and she said, well, it's a new building, you can't do it on an old building. You can do it on an old building, no problem, and it's not hard to do, so.
Yes.
So the lieutenant governor was the one that was talking about that.
We were all ready to apply for some of that money, because it's due October 1st. But Rebecca found out that we cannot apply for any of those grants of one building until the whole town gets evaluated.
You need a point person designated to deal with any of the grievances, and you also need a procedure in place, a grievance procedure in place, all written up and
So,
official.
and that's what she's working on.
Okay. The Tree Top Summer Camp, great, thank you for putting the money toward the insurance, that made a lot of sense. I heard about that late, I didn't even realize they were there, and then when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, you know, I wonder if they're gonna throw the money toward the insurance, so that's great, thank you. The roadway, yes, I went up, I drove it, it looks nice. I used to plow that parking lot, and I used to hit the curbings all the time, and the frost heaves and what have you. So yes, I think it's a great thing. When you guys were here before us, you said, well, you know, you give us the roadway, we'll get more weddings. So hopefully you guys are pushing toward more weddings, so.
Well,
okay.
we have gotten more weddings, but
No,
we'll.
I'm not putting you on, I'm just saying, that's the comment we had, so.
certainly
Lily pad
appreciate it.
removal, as you know, I wasn't never for it, I'm not for it, we did it in Maine. I'll go on the record to say, Mike just said it a minute ago, you guys drove a path down the middle, you have lily pads over here, you have lily pads over here, they're a living creature, they're gonna grow back in, and you're gonna be doing it again. Right way to do that probably would have been to dredge it deeper. I watched what the guy did, he raked off the top of the lily pads, he didn't get the root system, it's gonna come back. I hope it works well, I hope you have enough money to do it again next year, because I personally think you're gonna have to do that every year to keep those boats. And like I said before, one way to keep that way that you just put in open is
Yeah.
boat traffic.
Yeah.
Boat traffic will keep that open. And the
Absolutely.
propellers, which I don't think there's propellers, but maybe there
No,
is,
but even just canoes, yeah.
what they're saying is boat traffic will help keep it down, but it's not gonna keep it out completely. So anyway, yes, it looks great, I went down, looked at that as well, and I think it looks really good, but I hope it doesn't grow back. And, I didn't see, I saw, there's the picnic area at the bottom of where they were working now?
Yes.
Yeah, that looked good, I saw that, and I thought that looked good as well. So, yeah, I think things are coming along, and thank you for your pushing forward over there.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
Selectman Watson.
Mike, the lily pad that you've had removed this year, if you came and next year you did the same amount, how many years to take care of all of it, approximately?
Well, based on what they took out this year, I mean, this is my own personal estimate. I'm hoping to get this real information from the company that did the work. But based on what's left there, plus what's spread around other smaller portions of it around the pond, you know, it would probably, I would say we've done 1/3 of it. So that means if we did this again, we'd have to do it 2 more years, and assuming that, you know, nothing changed, then we would get it all out.
Okay, yeah, I was by there today, and
Yeah.
I've kept an eye on it as it's working, and I'll tell you, I think 1/3 I think that's a little high. It seemed like they've not done that many. But anyway, the summer camp.
Yes.
No, I had somebody tell me that they were, that the kids at that summer camp were out on the pond. Are they out there on canoes, or?
Yeah, I'll let Vanessa talk about that.
Yeah, they do kayaking.
And my question there is, who has a liability policy on that if something happened out there?
Treetop does.
The treetop?
They actually have to list the activities that they do, like kayaking,
And,
in their insurance.
you know, I know I brought it up probably over a year ago when you were here on something else. And Johnson's Pond is considered a great pond by the legislature way back. And it's for use of the pond, et cetera. But, it has to do with fishing and boating, but there is no access for our emergency services if there was a water rescue out there. And I know I had asked you before about clearing that area by the old pump station on Center Street, or down, I call it the S curve, down, headed towards Boxford.
Yep,
Maybe 100 yards beyond where the parking lot is. That was always a emergency vehicle access to the pond, but that, somewhere along the line, there was 4x4s put in there, so that blocked that access. So
yeah.
where are the emergency vehicles gonna put into that pond? There's no access for them.
At the bottom of VZ Park.
Impossible. They're not gonna be able to put a boat with a motor, and you know that, you're not supposed to put a motorized boat on the pond, but for a rescue, absolutely,
Yeah,
you
right.
can do that.
Right.
I don't think they can get it through there. Why don't they look at opening up with the old pump station, that there's already a hot top road along with a ramp. When the Havel was running the water plant over there,
Yep,
they had access, because they went out there, spread chemicals and stuff in the pond at times. And that's where the fire department used to back down to that ramp and practice drafting. So that was an access. All you gotta do is remove some of those dead trees and some of that brush in there, and you could access it.
okay. Well, I'm sorry that I remember you bringing this up before. So what I will do is I will talk to the fire department to see if we can work together to figure out something. We'll probably have to go deal with Haverhill, but I've got the correct contact over there too, so we can try to come up with a plan so they can get into the pond.
Now, why was that blocked off down on the S curve, as I call it?
I don't know when they went in.
Who blocked it off?
I don't know. I don't know. You're talking about those 4 metal posts that are over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Those have been there at least 10 years, I'd say.
Pull them out and they got access right there?
Yes, but it's not I think the pump station is probably a better spot, because the trouble with that is it's like right next to the road. So there's not any leeway there, whereas if you went down to the pump station, as long as you can get in there, you can do whatever it takes to get a boat in. So I'll find out.
I'm sure that somebody out there in a capsized boat would want the quickest access.
Sure.
whichever- And there's no reason why you can't have two.
Yep, that's true. All right, I'll check on it.
So on the Haverhill side?
Anything else?
I haven't got any.
Okay. I've got a few things. Mike, when the initial plan to spend the $65,000 on the lily pad problem first came up, was there any kind of study done as, okay, we're gonna spend the $65,000, how long do we expect to get out of it? Was there any expectation of time, 2 years, 5 years, 6 months?
Yes.
And what
I
was
don't
that?
have all that data with me, so I can't really quote you any hard and fast numbers. But when we put the original CPA request in, we actually did it 2 years in a row. The first year, I'm not sure if you recall, but one of the selectmen asked a lot of questions about it, so we went back and tried to answer those questions, some of these same questions that you're bringing up today. So we were able to answer those, came back with another slightly different CPA project, and that's when the town decided to fund it.
Okay. Getting back to the Treetop Summer Camp,
Yep.
you've had that, how long's that been in existence?
That's the second year.
Second
yeah.
year.
Second year. And was there a reason why we have a second summer camp when we already had one that was apparently very successful? Was there any talk of integrating your idea into the one that's already existed?
I can answer that one.
I'd like to respond to that as well, because we talked about that before on this board, that they're totally different types of camps.
We don't run the summer camp. It's not a town thing.
Right.
Oh, it's not a town?
No, it's
a
not town.
privately owned summer camp.
But
Okay.
it's
They just
modeled
rent
very
the
differently.
space.
Yeah, it's modeled very differently than the camp at the Bagnell. It's more of a nature.
So this is
sort
a third party that runs it,
Yeah,
okay, and they charge the children $850 per week?
No. No,
Okay,
we
that's,
charge-
I think that's what he said, that's why I
No,
wanted to
we-
straighten that out, 'cause
they
I'm doing the
pay-
math and going, wow.
They pay us $850 a week to rent the facility.
Yeah, they use the outside and 2 of the rooms,
For 6 weeks.
right.
And what's your costs associated with that?
Our costs, well, normal maintenance, you know, we have the cleaners that clean it, and half of that goes towards the event manager.
They also rent porta potties so that it doesn't, they don't use our bathrooms
Facilities.
Yeah, the kids use mostly outside stuff, so. They're
And-
they're outside primarily, I'd say 90% of the time. They just come in when it's really raining or really, well, not even when it's hot, they stay out.
Right. Have you seen attendance rise, decline, stay the same? I know you've only been around for 2 years.
I think week to week, I mean, it's hard to tell, because it came from Georgetown originally, so it was a restructured sort of summer camp. But she came in with quite a few kids, and then it seemed like they were pretty successful this year. But I think different weeks had different numbers of kids, so.
So my son is a counselor there. So I'm very familiar, because he went to the camp in Georgetown, and he's been a counselor the last 2 years. And Ann, my mind is blank, what's her last name? Corthell.
Quartet,
Ann Corthell, who runs it, has deliberately not made it really large.
right.
So it's not a huge camp. I
Right.
don't think they ever had more than maybe 50 or 60 campers, and
I-
they're not really trying to expand
I
it.
think she
You're
also
getting the same
converted
reverb
to
on this
a-
microphone as I am.
It's the speakers still. They're,
It's also, I think she's doing some nonprofit stuff too, so a lot of the kids come to camp for a reduced rate, or,
Or waived
Or
fee
free.
entirely.
yeah,
Yeah,
so.
Yes,
Plus-
Selectman Wood?
Are you done?
Yeah, and how's the Comet?
What's that?
How's the Comet?
Oh, he's doing great.
Good.
He's preteen.
Did you say that 65,000 was about a third of the effort to put in, to
well, that's my guess,
roughly?
but it's not, it's $65,000 was not the cost of the hydro raking. The cost of the hydro
It was
raking
50 or something?
was 50, yes.
All right.
So,
So that's a third of the effort, basically, 50.
that's my guess.
So we're looking at a total investment of 150,000 or so to,
That could be if we did it all, yes, if we did it all that way.
don't you think the better investment would be to buy your own machine?
I think so, if that's
I mean,
possible to do, yeah.
We could buy a duck boat and had to have that as an emergency response
Yeah.
vehicle if we needed to
Yeah.
save somebody.
Right, right.
And have cash left over. And change.
Yeah, and do tours.
I think, you know, it's a discussion that we have to have with the highway department perhaps to see, you know, what their thoughts are on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
any further questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Great.
Great.
Mr. Dempsey and Ms. Lopez, thank you very much for coming in and sharing the past year at VC Park and what the future holds. We appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience out there was well-informed by that, so thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Oh, and our upcoming fundraiser for our art festival is coming up in November too, so we'll have more information about that for you guys.
Yeah, that's it, get in all your plugs you can.
Exactly.
Okay, moving right along, we have a discussion of the state's DCAMM bond bill. So Denise, I guess you have the floor for this one.
That is me. So I spoke to Senator Tarr's office at length about the bond bill, and just to get more information about it. So there's no
This is-
guarantee.
Just to fill everybody in, to be clear on it, we're talking about the funds either for a senior center or for the town center, is that what we?
Yes and no. So, in this current year's bond bill, a request was made by Senator Tarr for $1.5 million for a new senior center. In a previous year's bond bill, he was not sure on the exact amount, but a request was put in for the town square. The way the bond bills work are, our legislators submit a project that the town supports. They then lend their support to it. They've encouraged the town to also write in letters of support encouraging the project. These projects then go pretty much to the governor, who puts together his capital budget. Once the capital budget is set, there's still no guarantee that those funds, so let's just say the governor decides 1.5 million for a senior center, and Groveland is important. He puts that in his capital requests, that goes forward. If it's approved as the total, whatever they vote, 800 million, 80 million, whatever they may vote for the capital bill, then we would have to request the funds that match the project they supported, and if they have the funds available at that time, because other projects may have run over or under, then they would possibly release the money. So, right now, yes, so, and they're also doing like a 5 fiscal year capital plan. So, if in fact they support a project for Groveland, if the board supports a specific project, we actually wouldn't even know about it until May or June, and they actually think that might be pushed back because the governor's not doing anything until after the November election. So, originally when it came to us, it was that the town really needed to select a project. Doesn't necessarily mean we only need to pick one. We still could say both are a priority, but we need to rank them because obviously when funds become available, they would have to be a priority list. If we chose the $1.5 million for a senior center, and then for whatever reason, the town then votes down a senior center again, something falls through and we decide back next July that we really don't want to take that path, that money is gone. We can't then say, well, we really wanted 1.5 million for this project, or we wanted 500,000 for the square. It is project specific, and if that project doesn't go through, that money is gone. They will then give that to somebody else who had a project in the capital bill. So that being said, now is the time that the legislators are putting together their request to submit to the governor. Again, we have a little more time just because of the November election that's coming up, but they would like the town to either vote on supporting a project, endorsing projects that the legislators can then take to the capital request.
There are a lot of ifs in that statement.
Yes, there are.
There's a lot of.
Yes.
So, at this time, would it be prudent to try and form a senior center committee, just in case all these ifs happen to fall our way? We're ready at the starting line to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something you all could do. I think right now you're just saying, if you're committed to a $1.5 million for a senior center, the question he was not sure of is if, because the bill was written that it was for a new senior center. He did not know if they would support it if it was a renovation, if we added on here. He really didn't know that. He said he assumes it would be okay. This was, no, one of Senator Tarr's legal attorneys, or one of his attorneys on staff. So he wasn't entirely sure. He thought it would be fine, but again, I think if this board still fully supports a senior center and would like to try and get $1.5 million, I think we can put on the next agenda that you'll actually vote for that project, at which time we will then start sending in letters of endorsement and requesting that they support it and really lobby for it. Again, there's still no guarantees if it makes it in, still no guarantees that next year the money's available.
Well-
It still comes down to funding and things
But
like
the
that.
first step is to actually say, we want it.
The first step is to say,
Right.
yes, we support that project and this is what we want to.
And
Run with.
I think everybody here and in the audience understands that there's only 2 guarantees in life, and those are death and taxes, and other than that, nobody's guaranteed anything. But it's a chance I'd be willing to take. I don't know about the rest of the board members, but,
Right.
you know, I think it's something that's worthwhile. I think it's, if the funds are available, I think it's a great way to use them. I can't think of anything in the town that would more benefit the residents than that. Yes. Selectman Dunn?
So, we just had that disaster over there in North Andover, Lawrence, and what have you. Honestly, do we have a place here in town equipped that would hold a bunch of people, other than one of our schools? So, I
No.
mean, I think it's a well worth,
Wild project.
Right, because even Bagnell is not a true shelter.
Right, right.
It doesn't have a generator in the new section, we don't have cots, I mean, even if we build a senior center, the likelihood that we're gonna have the equipment that's necessary, the cots and things like that, is slim, but at least we could have
But-
warming centers and things like we
Right.
did last year here in the town hall.
right, but but if we ended up getting one, we could always add cots, and we could always build what we have. I mean, that could be one use toward it, for sure.
And I imagine that it would have a functioning kitchen, so we could feed people as well if,
Right.
in cases of a death.
Do you know if there's a committee already in place, or has that been abolished, or do we know the old committee is around, not
I
around?
think Bill's spoken with them.
Oh,
The
okay,
committee is really, because the vote came out the way it came out,
right,
their specific charge has ended.
okay,
So I'm for trying to reform the committee, like I said.
I'm with you.
In case all these ifs happen to fall just our way,
right.
we're ready with the people, a committee that has already gone over some of the details, some of the project costs, where they'd like to see it, rethink the project. Obviously, the first one failed, so to rethink the same project, even with that money, I think is just a fool's errand. We have to rethink it from
So I'll
the
make it our
ground up.
taxpayers' money, so why not go for
Well,
it?
I've spoken to some of the members of the committee, and the ones that I've spoken to are interested in continuing, but
Well,
they're
I-
also under the same belief as you. The present committee no longer exists, so we get coming up here at some point as a discussion on the committee. But I think that the way to do it would be to solicit people that are interested in serving on the committee.
And then giving them a specific charge, and then letting them run with the ball as far as they can, and we'll all cross our fingers and toes, and hopefully we get that 1.5, and they get what they want, and we get what we want, and everybody is just happy as a
So-
clam.
I think 1.5 goes pretty far towards a.
You know, that's,
If you could, able
as
to
far
get
as
any
the
of it.
estimate that we were given, it's a third of the cost of the originally proposed building. And if we go with something slightly different, maybe a little smaller, maybe that's 50% of the cost.
Maybe a different project, yeah. There's-
So, that being said, do you think we have time in our next agenda meeting, going through the chairman, that we could put it for an agenda item and invite people to come in that want to be on the committee, and have them come in the audience and let them talk to us about possibly having a committee start that night, or whatever?
Well, I
mean,
think the better
Well,
idea may be, if I can make a suggestion, would be have those people submit their names through Denise as interested candidates to be on the committee, and then we can quickly vet them, and then meet with them after the vetting process is done to come up with, well, first we have to come up with a number, 5, 7, 9, the number we want. And then she can quickly vet those individuals, and then we can get down to the brass tacks and actually form a committee pretty rapidly, I think, after that, right? Would you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm scheduled to meet Wednesday with the Council on Aging in the morning at their meeting, and to discuss some of these issues.
Right, keep in mind that Lynn Stanton, as an employee of the town, can only serve as an advisory capacity to the committee, I believe. Is that how it would work?
No, she could certainly serve on the committee, but I would advise against her being the chair of a committee such as that. I think it's really important that it's residents that make up that committee. Like I said, she could serve on it, she could serve in an advisory capacity, but I really don't know that she should chair a committee on the building of a new senior center.
There may be a conflict of interest there, obviously. It could potentially arise.
No, I wouldn't say that's a conflict in her situation. I just think it's resident taxpayer money that will eventually build this. I think the better interest of the town would be to have a resident serve as the chair.
I would agree.
So is she not a resident of Groveland?
She is not.
Okay. So I think there'd be some value to her serving as an advisory, in an advisory role, but maybe not as a voting member if she's not a resident of Groveland.
And that's how she's been. With the last committee, she was an advisor and attended their meetings and weighed in and discussed the building and things that she would like to see in it, but she was not a voting member.
So with that said, should we begin the solicitations to form a committee?
Yeah, I can certainly put it on our website and Facebook, looking for, but do you have a new charge for them? The design fees that were set aside are gone, so right now the committee is just conceptually putting together ideas and meeting. So there's no, they can't be working on plans or drawings or getting prices unless they're doing it all themselves.
That's that's my point was, and I'm not trying to step on Bill's feet, my point was to have them come in so we all agree, and we know there's people in the audience that are willing to work at this thing, and then we can go ahead and send off the stuff we need to the state, because we can't spend any money, we have no money to spend, but all we're trying to do right now is say, this is a good idea and we're for it, we're gonna move it. That's all I was trying to get to. I think a committee, we don't know what kind of money, we're trying to go after grant money, but we don't know, so just to know we have the people backing us, I guess, and enough people, 5 people, whatever, or, I don't know, maybe I'm saying it all wrong.
No, I mean, I don't think it hurts to do both. I just think you have to be careful with what a new committee is gonna do. So if you're putting together or reinvigorating a senior center committee, what are they going to do without any money to do anything?
Right, that's my point.
So,
Are we too
you know,
premature?
are you gonna look for them to get resident feedback? Are you looking for, them to start thinking of some additional ideas? It's just, there's not a lot for them to do.
Right now.
right
Well, I almost disagree. The first one failed, so there was a lot of work. That idea didn't work. So really, you've got to rethink this from the ground up. So there is a lot of work, groundwork to be done now in anticipation of those funds coming. Yes,
So I have a question, a process question. So if such a group was convened, I mean, what is I'm assuming that you can't apply for those monies unless you already have approval from the town that so what does that process look like? I guess I'm a little confused.
Right, so right now, we're not applying for it. So right now, we're just submitting a project. We wouldn't get any money until or if the project is approved by the voters. That's why they said you can request the money be funded, we can put it in the, we can solicit their approval, but we can't then go to them and say we want the money released until we have a project that has been voted on
and approved.
and approved by the town.
Okay, and then that money is available because, is it a 1-year, how long is that money available for?
So it depends. They said they're including 5 fiscal years. But I guess if we're looking for 1.5 and they have all 1.5, they would most likely then release it to offset our project.
So it's not like it's just available for 1 year. It's available for the next 5 years, potentially. Is that what you're saying?
Or you're saying they bleed it out over 5 years?
I think they bleed it out over 5 years. So I think the projects that are coming in are now filtering in the next 5-year fiscal year capital budgets. So we might not make the next one, we might make the following years. Again, he said they build their capital budget around the requested projects, but then it's not necessarily what they're gonna fund. So if they put the 1.5 million in and then come next fiscal year, we don't have an approved project, they would then take that 1.5 million and give it to another community. And then the following year, we could apply again for the 1.5 million, because it has been approved and it is in their capital 5-year requests. It's still not a guarantee, but we could request it now and then hope.
Let me try this one more time, see if I can get where I was trying to get. So, if we had them in front of us, if they would come, the old committee, or whatever, and we had a conversation between us and them, they may answer some questions that we have as we're sitting here, you know what I'm trying to say? That's all I'm trying, I think I got it out the right way. So, maybe they don't wanna convene and come in and talk to us, but if they did, we may have some answers that we can get answered that night, and then we can see and move forward. Maybe, did I get that pretty clear now?
You mean try to narrow in on
Yeah.
a very specific charge for the committee?
Yeah, see what they were looking for, what they needed, where they thought we missed, and, what went wrong, and what have you. Just have that conversation with them, you know what I mean?
I've kind of had that conversation with them a couple of
Okay,
times.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
But,
All right,
one-on-ones.
Right,
I mean,
right.
where I thought, and it was just my own personal opinion,
Yep.
so it's not an opinion of the group, and, more minds will obviously come up with more ideas. I don't know, it really doesn't matter to me, I guess, as long as we try to push this project forward, because I think it's a worthwhile project, and if the money's there, take it,
Right.
if we can get it.
Well, I think the main reason why we had to have this discussion was originally there were 2 projects on the table. And I'm not sure, Lisa, if you guys have had a chance to meet with Elm Square now that the gas station has sold.
No,
I
I
don't
just
know where
found
that
that out
leaves
today.
us.
But it seems to me that committee's probably going to be dissolved.
So that was the whole reason why there were 2 projects on the table. With the gas station being sold, I don't know that we would support that request any longer. So I would say it makes sense to request support of the senior center initiative. We don't have to prioritize anything because now it's the only project in front of us. And then you guys can then figure out how you want to schedule or what you want to do with the senior center committee. But I think if you're all in agreement, we should requestment of the $1.5 million for a new senior center.
Do we have to make a motion for that?
You can, I mean, we have it under vote, so you can.
I'll make a motion that we endorse the $1.5 million grant and proceed with it. I think I said that right, hopefully.
Formally request?
Formally request it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor?
Yeah.
And should we also at this time begin the solicitation for committee members?
However you guys want to do it. If you want to talk to the Olds Committee, if you, I can certainly put something on the website.
Can
Again,
we-
it's just kind of like how many and what do you want them to do should be figured out before you are soliciting members.
Could we, going through the chair, could we let the old committee members know by email or somehow that we've done what we did tonight? Would they be interested in moving forward? I just think that it's a slap in their face if we go and we do this without at least throwing it out to them saying, hey, we're doing this. You want to be on board, that's all. They
Oh.
worked a lot, they did a lot of hard work and what have you.
Selectman Carpenter.
So I think that they should be invited to be part of the process, but I don't think that that should negate there being a new committee formed, because I think part of the issue is that there needs to be a reexamination of the fact that, for whatever reason, the previous proposal was not passed. So there needs to be a revisiting of, is it because people felt it was too much? What were the reasons? So that, to me, is a charge of any of the previous board members that want to be on it, but also welcoming any new members who might want to be part of that as well.
I think both your points have great merit, because obviously that past committee learned a lot.
That's all I'm
They
talking.
must have
I'm looking
learned a
for-
lot, and experience can't be discounted, and you have make a valued argument.
I'm
that
not
maybe
saying I
some
want
fresh
them to be
blood
the-
in there As well, a mix of the fresh blood and the old blood.
Right.
might
I'm
be
not
great.
saying I'm looking for them to be the committee.
Oh,
I'm
we know.
just trying to use them for their education, what they learned.
Absolutely.
Let us know, bring us up to speed, anything, that's all I was
They
trying.
probably have some invaluable
And they may not want
information.
to, I don't know, I think that they put some time in, why not offer to them?
From what I've heard,
The ones I
they're
spoke to
all
are
enthusiastic.
interested in continuing.
Yeah, they're all very enthusiastic. I think, I've explained to them, they were a little discouraged at first, but I've tried to explain to them that nothing worthwhile in this life ever comes easy, and if it came that easy, you wouldn't appreciate it. So, you know, you gotta keep on
It takes two times
fighting,
sometimes to get where you want to go.
but you can't give up,
No.
and I don't wanna see them give up. So, I guess we're all done that, and we'll,
So am I inviting them to the next meeting?
let's invite them to the next meeting, as well as, you know, put out the word that we'd like, you know, seeking interest in other volunteers or other committee members.
Right, but I think you need to have an official charge for them. The Senior
Okay.
Center Committee was put together as an ad hoc through the Council on Aging. It really should have been formed by this board with, you know, what you really want them to do, so that we can then properly solicit volunteers.
All right.
Why don't we just have the conversation first? Let's just, next meeting, if we can have the conversation again, one more conversation, and have anyone that wants to come in as well, maybe? Is that too confusing?
Yeah, that might be a little too much.
Not trying to get a charge next meeting, just to try and, I don't know.
I think we've come this far for now. Maybe we sit back and just think about where we've taken this, and what the specific charge for the next committee would be, and then try to come to a consensus on that.
Right.
At least then we've given someone a roadmap.
Right. See,
Like
I
I
don't
said,
know
if you don't
that
have a
me-
roadmap,
Right.
and you don't have a destination, I guarantee
Right.
you'll never get there.
Right, but I don't know the charge because I wasn't involved in the process of what the people did.
But there is no charge. We can make it up from the get-go, right? We can go from scratch.
Right, I think Bill's trying to get that he wants to know what they did, what the.
If they're willing to
To figure
bring
out
us
how
up to
to write
speed
the
on what
charge
went
for a new
on and what they
committee.
did and their process and all that good stuff, you know what I mean, that's all. There's nothing wrong with it, find out their thought process and find out, hey, did it, you know, they may say they made an error, we made an error, I don't know, I just think it would be, they put their time in, let's just hear it out, it'll take us one more meeting to hear out, and then at that point, if they don't wanna do it, then, and other people can sign up to the website, you're, like Lisa said, you're gonna be going on the website and saying, for her end of it, and people would put their name in there as well.
Well, I've got a suggestion. I think Mr. Selectman Watson is planning a meeting with some of those individuals in the next week.
I am on Wednesday morning, and hopefully, we can get some questions answered, some procedures. some of the discussion I've had with, they talked about maybe maybe a new survey. The survey that was done was like 40 years ago. Another survey to see, get the feelings of the townspeople. Do they really want it? So I think that's going to be part of the discussion with the Council on Aging at the time on Wednesday, so.
If they, make sure they know that it could be grant money involved too, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's a whole different
They're-
thing if
they're
they're
aware-
footing their
they're
own
aware of
bill
that.
or
They're-
if grant money's
They
involved.
know that.
Okay.
They know that.
Is this something without breaking open meeting laws that maybe you could attend with Selectman Watson and maybe
I can't do it
get
during the
those
day. I'm
answers? Yeah,
buried.
trying to think if you can get those answers,
Oh.
ahead of time.
It, yeah,
Do you want to just wait and let him go to the meeting and come back to us next meeting?
I think that would be more efficient way,
We'll
because
wait for you to come back.
yeah,
he's already gonna meet with that group,
Sure, let him come back to
and
us.
Can I
maybe
just
you could
ask?
feed him some questions.
Are you meeting with the Council on Aging or the Council on, Senior Center Building Committee? Because they're two different groups.
Council on Aging.
Yeah, so he's not meeting with the Building Committee.
He's not,
He's meeting with the Council on Aging, who charged the Building Committee to do a project.
Yes. So, we'll, hopefully I can have some answers on what their thought process is.
So we're putting the charge out this time though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's different. Well, I guess let it, I don't know. Obviously Ed's gonna do his thing and the website we have going up. And then I guess maybe if it's up to Bill, next week they can have more conversation on it.
yeah, we'll see who's available. Maybe we can have that conversation in the interim before our next meeting. See what they think. All right,
You said somebody wanted to speak?
on the,
Health nurse position?
on
No,
the,
it's not. I don't believe it's on their agenda, unfortunately, the wrong agenda was posted outside, but it was mentioned at the last meeting. Might be able to come back this meeting,
no, it's not on the agenda, I'm sorry.
or can we take 5 minutes of your time?
Sorry, not tonight. We'll try to get it on the next agenda if we can. So have we gone,
When are you meeting next?
that would
We are
be,
going
2 weeks.
forward with we did hire
2
someone,
weeks.
so we are going forward. She's
Um,
employed.
so I guess we'll hold on the committee for now and
So
kind
you
of,
want to talk before the next agenda to see if you want to add that? I'll make it
Yeah.
a tentative.
When is your next meeting?
October 1st.
Can you put us on the agenda?
It's not up to me.
Who is it up to?
I will consider it.
You will consider it,
I will consider it.
okay? Just so you know. the
Our
whole
next,
town's
I'm
here.
sorry, we have a meeting going on and this, it's,
And what criteria, I guess my
Um,
question is, what criteria do we have to meet to be able to be put on the agenda, other than requesting it formally?
there is a formal process. That would be the way to do it. I would imagine, isn't it that correct?
I guess we're asking, what is the formal process? If we're putting
Formal
it
process would be to
on
reach
the
out through the chair, through Denise, to be asked to be put on the agenda, and the specific reasons you want to be put on the agenda. And then, I guess it would be up to me whether I would want to entertain that agenda topic.
Okay, can we put in our formal request right now to both of you?
No, we're having a meeting right now, and I don't want to get off topic and because
You
we're,
can just send me an email,
yep.
and I will give it to the chair.
Okay, so I think we're done with that topic of discussion.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes.
Terrific.
So you'll let me know on the Senior Center Committee what you want to do.
Yes.
And then, so do you want to add something for Ed to recap his meeting at the next agenda? So that we have actually some discussion items for him to recap, or you want to do that under Selectmen reports?
I think that might be helpful, anything that Selectman Watson can add to the conversation to make us all understand better. and-
I'll do it under Selectmen's reports next meeting.
Okay.
Terrific. So now we have next up, and I'm gonna tell you, I have heard nothing but I've taken nothing but a lot of grief on this one. Creation of a Groveland Day Committee. I cannot tell you the number of people that have approached me, terribly disappointed that for the second straight year, we have not had a Groveland Day. Pretty much like I tell everybody, talk is cheap, and talk isn't gonna change anything. So if you really want it, you need to roll up your sleeves and get it done, because it doesn't get done by talking. So I've had a number of women, mothers, sisters, daughters, including my wife, that want to express deep, deep interest in reforming the committee and trying to get this a reality for next year. So I'd like to see how we can make that happen as well, because I have to live with one of them, and this is just not fun anymore.
Sure. So how many people and what do you want them to do? And we can put something on the website soliciting volunteers.
I would say no less than 5, no more than 9. I would say the specific charge would be to hold an event at the Pines at a date to be determined September of 2019, which would accent, highlight, and, what's the word I'm looking for? Show off, basically our town.
Are they responsible to raise the funds to hold such event? Because we don't have a budget for it, and the Recreation Committee would use what
Or
they
sponsorship
need.
or something,
Or
yeah.
sponsorship or something. Is that their task?
I would think so, because I mean, the town just doesn't have the money to do it, but if they're as bright as I think they are, if they're as hardworking as I think they are, if they're as ingenious as I think they are, and if they're as determined as I know they are, and persistent as I know they've become, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to pull this off without asking the town for a dime.
Okay.
Is there anything I missed?
No, so really their charge would be to raise money through donations and/or sponsorships to put together an event in September of 2019 to highlight Groveland and,
Yeah,
Residents and art.
to bring the residents together for an event.
to bring the community together on a day. I know if any of you have been by Plastow Day, it's just an incredible event. They block off the whole square, and people are walking from everywhere, all walks of life, from elderly to the toddlers. I wanted to pull over, it looked like such a great event, but I had mass plates, I thought they'd kick me out of there, so I didn't stay. But that's something I envision for Groveland, that's something I'd like to see happen here, where the entire community comes together for a day to celebrate Groveland, to celebrate its residents, to celebrate the people in the community we have here, to celebrate our firefighters and our policemen, our educators, our volunteers, our elected officials. Not me, I know, we're not worthy, I know. But most of the others are very worthy. And just to say thanks and have a prideful day. That's, I guess, my idea.
So I will say one criticism I've heard in the past is that people did not care for the fact that there were vendors selling crafts and things like that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't think it should be a flea market. I don't think that is the direction that this should go. The flea market, there's one in Revere every Sunday morning, I think at 10 o'clock. That's a great place to go if you want to buy somebody's junk. But I don't think that's what we're trying to celebrate in Groveland Day. I may be wrong. Correct me, jump up anybody if I'm wrong.
So
Well-
I think if you looked at some of the other communities like Andover Day, they do have vendors that are sort of crafts people that come in. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think we're talking about sort of like a Brimfield type affair.
Yeah, it's not a junkyard or anything.
No,
I agree, I
no.
think it's also crafts and games and bouncy houses and that
So
kind of stuff.
family-friendly vendors.
Right. But I think, and what I heard, and I'm probably gonna get bastardized by saying this, but I heard Groveland Day turned into an event, which turned into an evening event, which turned into alcohol and fencing, and try to keep the kids away from the fencing and the alcohol. I think that's what did Groveland Day in, and I don't think a lot of people in town like that and what have you, And I think that's what part of Groveland Day was supposed to be about the kids, was supposed to be about what you're talking about, and it morphed off into an evening. We'll put the kids to bed or whatever, and we'll have an evening for the parents. Probably would have been a good idea if it was a dance maybe or something, but I think it, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it got a little bit
No, I do remember.
taken
the
out of
day.
context.
I think after the bonfire, it was pretty much.
Right.
Everybody went
It,
home.
it was only one, but last year I think they did it as one, I don't think it went for
No,
two.
they did a
No, it was
couple
a
years.
Couple
of 3
years.
years.
But we had a tornado warning one year,
Right,
so they had to shut it down. They lost all the money that year.
right,
The last year, the ticket sales weren't great.
yeah,
The first year, I think it got a lot of positive reviews, but then they had trouble with the kids and the boundaries and things like that.
right,
I honestly don't think alcohol needs to be part of a family day.
I agree.
It's my opinion. There's plenty of opportunities for alcohol in other settings, and I sort of see it as a day event and not necessarily an evening event.
Right.
And I don't think that there needs to be alcohol.
Back when we used to have the activities committee, I ran the parade for 2 or 3 years in a row. We had a parade, it was always around 4th of July or whatever it was. We did it one year for Independence, that year of Independence, whatever. And it was pretty good, but what happened, the last parade we ran, we had a hard time with volunteers, we had a hard time getting the parade going, but once it went, it went. But there was some blotchiness in the parade, and people didn't like it because someone's truck overheated and it got stopped for about, and then there was a gap, you know what I mean? But there was a lot of criticism over that, but I mean, you could do something like that. You could do a parade. You could do a parade ending up at Town Hall of the Pines, which that's what we did, and then it would turn into Groveland Day type thing. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. And I agree, I don't think you're looking for certain kind of vendors, but with balloon vendors and certain kind of vendors, yeah, I think it's a good idea, Kitty
Candy.
vendors, yeah, stuff like that, yeah. Popcorn vendors, stuff that goes with the day,
Well, the vendors would pay something to sell their wares, so that it helps pay for the event.
Right.
But someone mentioned down there, I don't know who it was, mentioned about, family event, not some of these vendors that were selling, some of their wares, not so much of the family.
They weren't appropriate for the venue.
Or maybe, some for the younger kids, not,
Old fashioned.
yeah. Well, yeah, not turn it into a flea market type
Right.
thing.
I agree.
So how many people do you all want on the committee?
I would say
I think it
5.
was minimum of 5, minimum of 5, no more than 9.
So you want to just see how many you get and go from there?
I would, honestly, this is a big event. 5, it's gonna be tough for 5 people.
But I think we don't know what the interest is, and I think making it a minimum of 9 and up to 9, making it a minimum of 5 and up to 9 allows us to sort of see what the interest is.
You don't know. You wanna come home with me tonight? I'll tell you what the interest is. It's enormous. I mean,
Right, but
I have
it may be
probably 11
enormous
people
for the
already.
event. Well, then those 11 people can apply to be part of it.
I think you're gonna have at least 9.
So we won't limit it, we'll just, at this point, until you see what you get, then you can actually formulate how many you want in
Yeah.
there.
I think a larger number makes it easy. This is not an easy event. So the more hands are gonna make it easier and pass on the responsibilities to a greater number, and that's gonna make the chores and the delegation of duties and things like that much easier. But I don't anticipate a problem in getting 9.
Or I would say, I agree and disagree. I think the more people you have, though, starts to muddy the waters a little bit. I think if you had like a committee of 7, and then they put together sort of a fundraising committee, they put together a vendor committee, and then you had them each doing different tasks, because I think if you start to get 9, 11,
It
you
becomes
need
unwieldy.
you need a
Yeah.
focus, and you need people to be able to come together and make some decisions, and
Valid
need-
point.
gets a
You
little
need
crazy.
to, different volunteers from different town organizations, not just 7 people that you pull out of a hat, but you need to, involve the fire department, involve the library, maybe involve the highway department, recreation, maybe the baseball league. Get those people involved. As well as a couple of people from the general public that aren't on any committee. But if you get a representative of the different organizations, you'll get their participation.
I agree. The soccer, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, get them all out there. you know, let them all showcase themselves. It'd be a great opportunity.
Okay, so here's what I have for you to vote on. All right, to form the Groveland Day Committee, whose charge will be to raise money through donations, family crafter vendors, sponsorships, and sponsorships to plan Groveland Day for September 2019 and bring the community together for a fun, family-friendly event.
I'll second that.
I like it.
I can't make a motion.
No, I was just teasing, yeah, I was just teasing you.
We've got two people here that volunteered. Tracy and Mike already volunteered to be on the committee. That's a good start. Thank you, Mike.
I heard Jim say he
Thank you,
wanted to be
Tracy.
part of it
Oh,
too.
Yeah.
oh, gee whiz, yes.
I think it's a good idea.
Well,
Especially get servicemen who served in Vietnam or during World War II even, they're still living, to be out there and become proud of them.
That goes right to Mr. Dunn's parade idea, where we can showcase the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Little League, the soccer, the veterans, the police, the fire,
When them,
all the way down the line.
not to say anything, but I'll just real quick, because I'm sure people want to go home. We had the Shriners, we had the fire department, police department, highway department. Everyone, we invited every single business in Groveland to do a float, and they did floats. So they put their floats, so the business people. We had the school band, we had the elementary school kids marched. I mean, we had a lot of people. It went all the way from Ashcroft Terrace, every road was filled down to almost down to Merritt Ave. It was actually Merritt Ave. And then they took off, they went down and they came up. So there was a lot of people involved. But I mean, you know, it was a lot of work. It took us a year to do the committee, to put the parade together, but, you know, I think it went off well.
I think-
If someone's truck rolled.
I think the starting point is establishing this committee, see what the interest is, the amount of work that they're willing to do, and that's gonna drive what's gonna happen.
Right, you might not have a parade the first year, but maybe you have a day and then you can build on it going forward with momentum.
Every journey starts with a single step. So, Bill, did you want to make that motion, what she said?
You can just say so moved.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All, any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor?
Yep.
Terrific. Honey, you have a committee, please, now leave me alone for a
I
little
will put
bit.
it on the website in the morning.
Bruised. I got bruises in the back of my head from this discussion.
I think the superintendent just volunteered to be on there too. Thank you very much.
I think he should be a special guest star, if nothing else.
He doesn't live in town
Yeah,
yet.
he doesn't live in Groveland, so we're not gonna put that
No,
on
but a
him.
special dunk tank
Well,
appearance, I think, would be.
Special order will extend the boundaries a
Can be
bit.
an ad hoc.
I think we can make him an honorary citizen. So moving right along, we've already really kind of had the discussion of the senior center.
Yep.
So we'll move right into the capital improvement committee discussion. So I guess this discussion really is based upon the fact that we don't really have a capital improvement committee anymore.
Yes, so currently there are two members. I have spoken with Kevin Cuniff, who plans to resign. He just has not sent his letter of resignation, leaving only Jim Scanlon on the Capital Improvement Committee. According to Section 2-122 of our general bylaws, if at any time membership of the Capital Improvement Committee falls below 3 members, the authority for making decisions regarding capital improvements for the town will revert to the Board of Selectmen. So in essence, unless you fill a committee and have them up to speed and ready to go for budget season, you all are the Capital Improvements Committee.
So have we solicited at all for membership to the Capital Improvement Committee?
Right on the front page of our website, I have the availability. I don't have it as a separate item. I can certainly separate that out, but they're listed as a committee needing, right now it's 3 vacancies.
So can a select person be on that committee?
If your fellow board members appoint you.
Well, if they want to, I'd sit on the committee to help fill a seat.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to have, so Jim Scanlon is in a dual role of finance and capital. I don't think that's a bad idea to have maybe a selectman, a finance person. You know, you could pick, maybe a school committee, although school really doesn't apply much, but, you know, you could have a department head or something, and then you could have 2 or 3 residents. It's not a bad idea to do something like that.
Well, almost all the money that gets requested tends to be from the fire department or the police department. Maybe they should have representation.
They could each have a representative. I mean, the capital, it doesn't, it just says appoint a committee to be known as the capital improvements composed of 5 at-large members, serving a 3-year rotating term. I serve as ex officio without the right to vote. So I really, maybe you need to take a year to go through the process and then figure out how we want to retool the capital improvement committee. I'm not really sure, but we're slowly getting into it. Capital plan is required by our bylaw to be submitted by January 15th.
Right.
So normally they start in about October, November, sending out the requests.
When I sat on the Capitol for 4 years, we typically had begun meetings at this time. So we're already kind of behind. If there's any volunteers out there who would like to be on capital improvement, we sure could use your expertise and your time and help with this. It's always better when you have an extra set of eyes, another person judging things. It helps with the thought process, I believe. So if there's anybody interested in giving up some of their time for a very worthwhile endeavor, I implore you to contact Denise through the website and express your interest.
So what I would recommend, if it's okay by you, Bill, that maybe we put this on as an agenda item again next meeting. If we don't have any volunteers, then we really need to start the process ourselves.
Yes, because I agree, we're getting late into the process, so if we can't get enough volunteers by the next meeting, we're gonna have to pick up this ball and take it across the goal line ourselves, I think.
Right, I mean, as it is, I could certainly send out the requests and ask people to return them to me. But we could do that at any time, so if we have a committee, they could be handed off to a committee, if it's this board,
So you
however
need
you wanna
three-
do it.
Three
but-
members.
So right now, you have Jim
Five.
Scanlon.
Well, you need three if
And you
it's,
have,
Yep.
and you could have Bill if we so approved.
Yep.
So we need one more.
I would,
Technically,
you need one, but you really, really want three more.
I know,
well,
but
I would
technically-
recommend that you send out that documentation that you just referenced, and that way the process is kept moving regardless of what happens with the committee.
Okay.
So you
So-
have something to forward to them if there is a committee, and if there's not, the process has been established.
So I will send out, I'll look and see what the previous chair sent out for his timeline, but I will get together the forms and send those out at least to departments and boards so that they can start working on their requests. And then when the time comes, then we'll have at least the requests come in.
I think that's a good idea by
Okay.
Chairman Carpenter. So we beat that issue to death, so we'll move right on to the votes of the board. We have the minutes from the August 6, 2018 meeting. 2018 meeting.
August 6th,
August 6, 2018.
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from August 6th of 2018.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm voting.
Oh, you're voting? Okay.
Voting.
Favor, great. We have the minutes from the August 20th, 2018 meeting.
Now, those look to be in order, I'll move for passage.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Selectman
Abstain.
Dunn and Selectman Carpenter cannot vote in this one. They weren't present. But thank you for your effort anyways. We appreciate it. Next, we have accept the resignation of Catherine Casey Bailey from the Zoning Board of Appeals effective September 11th, 2018.
I'll make the motion that we accept Catherine Bailey's resignation from the Board of Appeals effective September 11th. This is a great loss to the town. She's very, very knowledgeable, did a great job, very dedicated, and I know she's moving out of town, but wherever she's moving, she'll serve on a committee there because that's what she does. Another one of our volunteers that has done a fantastic job, and I just think it'll be a great loss, and thank her for her service on the zoning board.
That's high praise coming from Selectman Watson. I guess I have to reiterate that same statement. Thank you for your service to the town. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll miss you when you're gone.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Okay, old or unfinished business. We'll start with Selectman Watson.
I don't have any.
Selectman Dunn.
The first thing I have is, we talked about it last meeting, I'll talk about it again, land sales. Trying to find out what's going on with land sales, and if it's possible that we could put a timeline or a letter to them asking them on a closing date. Somehow, some way. Find out if they're serious, not serious. We're gonna move forward, we're not gonna move forward.
So I reached out to the DeHulus last week. I have not heard back. So when I spoke to our attorney, we're good to go. The land swap is scheduled to be closed now by the end of this month. We're waiting on, apparently they had to go before the West Newbury Conservation Commission maybe, because the forest area crosses the boundaries. They were scheduled to meet September 10th, I believe. So hopefully they got the go-ahead from them, and that's really the only thing we're waiting on, the swap piece of it. Originally, they wanted to do the swap and the land sale closing on the same day and pay their attorney to be there representing both interests. That's the last I've heard. We're all set on our end to go on both of those, so the ball's in their court at this point,
So can we give them,
if the board chooses, yes.
I say yes,
Formal letter,
to the buying parties, their lawyers, whatever we need to do to say, this has been going on for over a year and we wanna move, we wanna get this thing done. Right now, our attorneys are done, our attorneys are ready to go, they've done their work, so we're just sitting waiting for them, and unfortunately, maybe something on their behalf is maybe got cold feet, who knows, we don't know till we find out, so letter, formal letter in writing, I think at this point in time, letting them know that we're serious, we wanna move with it.
and what would be the request of in the letter? Do we give them a specific date,
We
are you
waited a year
saying?
and a half, I'm saying 15 days, but I think Denise, maybe she'll say that you can't say that because, usually when you buy land, there's a time that you close in, I guess maybe we didn't say that, I don't know, but
Well, we had given them, I'm gonna pull out the,
it's been over a
PNS.
year, so I think they've had ample time.
We originally did not give a timeline because there was title issue.
Right.
So, that was sort of the holdup originally.
Maybe we can just say it's the wish of the board, if we can get this taken care of in 15 days or thereabouts.
I don't know that we'll get a closing in 15 days, but I can
No,
certainly
well,
ask.
if we can even get something informal, writing, maybe they're gonna say they don't want it, they don't wanna do it, I don't know.
I think it's reasonable to require them to provide a concrete response within 15 days.
Right. I think we could probably get a response, yes.
But the response has to be, this is when it's going to happen type of response, as opposed to, yes, we're interested, but no concrete information.
The thing is when, this money's gonna go into the general fund, and I know that we have purchases, we wouldn't have to go to taxpayers or whatever. This money that we could do something good with, I mean, it's not like it's peanuts either, it's, it's a good chunk of money, so that's why I'd like to move it, get it moving.
Right,
Budget season's coming, and I'd like to get the money in the coffers.
right. So that would just fall to free cash, and then you could appropriate
Right,
that out,
right.
yes.
So if there's a purchase coming up this year, whatever it might be, a police car, a squad truck, or a highway truck, or whatever it might be, maybe a park, who knows, but we could use the money.
I
So,
can certainly do that.
would your idea be to request in a formal letter formal response within 15, and then say a closing within 30 days from the date of their response? To expedite the,
I don't know, I think Denise is saying that we can't do that.
No, I think 30 days is probably more acceptable to schedule a closing. I don't know that they can get that done in 15 days.
right,
So
30 days
15,
from the
and
date
then-
of the response. That would
Yeah,
give
I
them
think
45 days
I think that's
overall.
enough timeline to have
And
a,
either,
as long as everything's
fish or
all
cut
set.
bait.
Yep.
Okay.
You are the man of metaphors and
He is.
euphemisms. Almost everything that comes out of your mouth is,
Is that a bad thing?
no, not necessarily, it's colorful.
I could have said something else, but you don't want to hear that.
All right, so within 15 days and then 30 days from that, we'd like a closing. 30
mean-
days from their response, we'd like a closing.
We need a
That's fine.
definitive end. I mean,
Okay.
Going on long
I
enough.
think what Selectman Dunn is saying, and I tend to agree with him. I mean, how long can we drag this out? You know, if we could drag it out another 6 months, tell them we're gonna raise the price.
I can tell you this,
Price for land doesn't go down, right?
you guys were saying that,
Making more land.
Nope.
I'll let it go. But when someone owes you money, guess what? I keep telling my wife, if you don't pick up the phone and ask for it, you're not getting it. You keep sending those emails, you're not gonna get it. So until you really show that you want it, you're gonna get it, believe me.
I don't have a problem with that. I think we should begin, and
Okay.
it's only fair. I
Right.
mean,
We've given them plenty
if
enough
everything
time.
is done and all the
Right.
i's are dotted, the t's are crossed, I mean, what's the holdup?
Plenty enough time.
15 days should be plenty of time to respond. 30 days after that response should be plenty of time to close.
Right. Okay.
I will send it tomorrow.
If they don't want to close, we'll send, can we take it right off the table if they don't do that, and then open it back up for sale?
Yeah, I was just trying to see if it said that. I'm assuming,
I was hoping there's an expiration date on this, like milk.
They don't have any money down on it yet.
yes, they gave us
They
a deposit.
gave money down?
Mhm.
Well,
Um,
hopefully there's a kick-out clause somewhere.
Well, I've
I'm
given-
assuming, I
I've
mean,
given
we're the
money
seller,
down
we
in the
can
car,
choose
too,
not
and
to
I
sell
changed my
it.
mind, I got it
It's
back.
under-
Right,
It's
right.
under the bad milk
Yeah,
provision.
we can choose if that's the case, so. Okay. So I will do that.
All right,
tomorrow.
so that's on old business, and I think I touched base on it a minute ago. I had talked to Denise during the disaster, and I said, do we have a facility here in town for, if this happened to Groveland, we can put people, and she was saying, well, not really, because we don't have a good enough facility with a generator, et cetera, et cetera. So, are we ever gonna take a look at maybe possibly getting a facility, or talking about it down the road? If this happened to us, where we can put people, what we can do? I know I wasn't here this winter when you guys, Mike, had to deal with the big snowstorm and what have you. I think there was an issue back then when he was trying to find places to put people. Is there anything we need to do? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a discussion we should have with our emergency management director, which is
Yeah.
Steve Sargent.
Yep.
And also the
and-
Board of Health, because they're supposed to be doing disaster preparedness.
Yes. I think we should, in my prior communities, we had a emergency preparedness team with representatives from all different agencies. We don't do that here. I've asked a few times, but, I mean, luckily, we don't have enough incidents that, I guess, warrant it. But we would
God
talk,
forbid.
we would meet for the winter, hurricane season, things like that, and just sort of talk about what we would do, you know, as far as disaster recovery. So I suppose we could certainly discuss that. Our shelter would be Bagnell, which does not have a generator in the new portion.
Right.
So,
I think during that ice and snowstorm and power outage, we actually did pretty well gathering. It's kind of ad hoc, but we gathered kind of department heads and, you know, some of the leaders in town to figure out what we should do and best approach and what we can kind of set up pretty quickly. I think has to be a more formal
Right, I
approach
agree
to
with
it. But given the time frame that we had and.
no, I'm not criticizing.
No, I don't think you are, but I mean, it is something that should be kind of formalized.
Right, we should have a plan in place.
yep.
So, going through the chair, could we have Steve Sargent come in and sit down with us in one meeting, and we can maybe talk about it?
Discuss if there's.
So I'd
a
like to
plan in
add to
place.
this, because having been a previous member of the Board of Health, they are tasked with doing this. And we had meetings related to disaster preparedness. They are supposed to have that plan. They
Well,
are,
then maybe we just ask them to present that plan.
So if you put them on the agenda for the other item, we could certainly put them for both. They could discuss what they've done for emergency preparedness.
and what do they have in place for disaster preparedness? Because they're supposed to have a plan.
So we could certainly, I can invite them in before we invite Steve. I don't
Well, I
know
think
that they've been in.
they're supposed to collaborate and work together. There's like a Merrimack Valley team that is supposed to work together on what that preparedness plan looks like.
Okay,
And I believe we even have like supplies and stuff.
okay. So who shall I be inviting?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
you
think
want me
we
to
should
invite
have our
both
own town,
parties?
personally, I think our own town conversation, and then maybe get that done, and then maybe go to, I don't know, bring them both in, I don't know.
Well,
I
I certainly don't think that I'm in any position to provide expertise around emergency preparedness. That's what I would like to say about that. So I would rely on other people who, I mean, there is supposed to be, the public health nurse is supposed to be taking trainings and doing stuff related to disaster preparedness as well. So if they've appointed that position, that person should be able to come and report what would be the plan around that.
Right, but I think what I'm after is I'm after looking for more of like a facility, more of a,
No, but that's part of that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
So, what you're saying is DOH responsibility is to put the plan together. Whose responsibility is it to execute that plan? That's the person we should talk to.
I
Well,
would
but it
assume
don't-
it's
if
still
we-
them.
But if we don't have a plan, it doesn't matter whose job it is to execute it.
You said we have a plan.
No, what I'm saying is we have had a plan in the past. I don't know what it is today. So this is probably 5 years ago.
You're not sure if we even have a plan.
Well, we've had a plan in the past. What have they done to maintain that and keep it updated? I don't know the answer.
Right, and
But
I
even
don't
if they
know
made the
that,
plan, would they be the ones would they be the responsible parties to execute that plan?
maybe in
It'd probably be the
collaboration with our emergency management director. I don't know.
If something,
I
if
don't
something
know.
goes on in town,
Mm.
bad, it's gonna be the emergency management director right
It'd be
away.
Fire and police.
Fire and police, management director.
Right, well,
That's
that's what
where
it was
it's
the
gonna
last
start.
time, right.
And then, you know, obviously, like Lisa's saying, the health person will be involved and what have you. So, does he know something we don't know? I don't know. That's the only reason I was saying, ask whatever questions we can to
I just
him.
think there's so many different variety of disasters that could take place. There could be, an epidemic that was a health-related epidemic. There could be a poison gas. Like, and I think there are protocols around that, MEMA and all of those other organizations. So Steve Sargent may know more, but I'm 99.9% certain that the Board of Health is part of that plan.
Okay,
I would imagine they formulated the plan.
Right, that's not what I'm going after. I'm
Yeah.
going after a facility. I'm going after,
Right, but in that plan, I want to say that Bagnell was identified as the facility, is my
Where else?
recollection.
right, and I don't think
Town
it's
hall.
equipped though, am I correct? It's not equipped, right?
well, it's not equipped with a generator, so if we were to lose power, we could not use the
Right.
new auditorium gymnasium area of Bagnell. The last, when we had the emergency in March, I do believe Steve said we have some cots. We might have some, but we don't have a lot. We had some cots, we had some, I forget what they call those meals, but I think he said they had
Oh,
some of
MREs?
those.
FTEs,
Some-
FMEs.
Yeah,
So
something.
we,
But we don't have a ton. We would still need like Red Cross or something to come in and actually help us establish a facility. We don't have the
but we can't put them in a
functionality.
facility that has no lights.
Correct, well, that's
So,
the part, right,
You know what I mean? That's, so we
Correct.
really need to
correct.
get that taken care of.
And there used to be a regional team that would meet, that we were part of.
There's no building.
And Haverhill, so we collaborated with those other teams
Yeah,
to have a plan in place to work collaboratively if there was an issue.
Two ways.
Perhaps this is the time to ask our state senator and representative, maybe they can put something through in the legislature that we need a facility, we need a generator, see if we got any money. I'm sure after this incident over in Lawrence, North Andover and Andover, that there'll be some discussion about cities and towns being prepared, but perhaps that's something that we could look at, is to bring that facility up with a generator. Obviously, didn't work out too well over in those three communities if they had a natural gas generator, but, so, that's something to look at. It seems to me that when we looked at, like Lisa had said several years ago, at the Bagnell School, that was basically one of the only things that was lacking, was that it didn't have a backup generator.
I know in one of the towns, I think it was Andover, they didn't have a generator in their facility. They brought a portable generator in that night late through one of the highway department or whatever. They went and rented one. They got it online. They got the building up and running. I mean, that's obviously something we could do.
right,
But I'm just saying,
Yep.
For a more permanent solution.
right,
Right.
and have the conversation with our management or whatever.
right. I think part of the discussion with shelters, to have a formal shelter, you need the ability to have showers. Because that was part of our discussion in March, that in order to actually house people overnight, you need showers, which is why we could only do a warming center. At the time, we talked about perhaps needing to go to the middle school, because that would have been our next option of being able to house a large group of people with the facilities that were required. So I don't know if in Groveland we'll ever get there, given what's needed, according to Steve Sargent, but we could certainly do short-term solutions, warming centers, things like that. So,
And
Okay.
more longer terms, we'd have to go to the school department and ask them to open up the middle school and the high school, which I don't think would really be a problem.
right, or utilize the Red Cross. I mean, other communities opened up their schools for
Or all of
the
the above.
disaster last week, so.
Well, some of those facilities that were opened up in those 3 communities didn't have shower capabilities. It seemed to me there was some portable units that were brought in at some point.
Okay,
All set?
yeah, I guess so.
I'll talk
I
to
went
Steve Sargent and at least get some direction from him, and then I can
Make a
either, I can talk to
recommendation, yeah.
you, and we can schedule it, or I can bring it back next meeting. But I'll talk to him and at least get some direction of if he meets with the Board of Health, if there is a plan, and just get some
We'll get the answers.
feedback.
We'll get somebody in here that can tell us. Selectman Carpenter,
Nothing for old business.
Selectman Wood,
Old business.
older unfinished business.
Yeah, I don't know where this falls, so I'll just say it now. So I met with the superintendent and West Newbury and police on Friday to talk about school safety, make sure we're all in the same program, not only with Groveland schools, but also Merrimack and West Newbury, and just make sure that we're pushing forward and doing everything we can to make sure the schools remain safe. And then the other item, I'd like to request the chair to have an executive session to meet with Chief Gillen regarding security enhancements
Yes.
for town hall and school,
So can I ask why that would be executive session?
because it has to do with security.
Any type of
related.
security.
So
is
that
executive
falls under
session.
the,
Yeah.
okay.
It wouldn't be so secure if everybody knew what we were doing.
Or what we weren't doing.
What we weren't doing.
Oh, what we want.
So maybe we can schedule an executive session. Selectman Wood, how long do you anticipate this discussion lasting?
Probably no more than 30 minutes.
Is it possible, if the board is so inclined, that we could do it prior to a regularly scheduled meeting? Say 5:45, which should give us, the anticipated time is only 30, that should give us a 15-minute kind of buffer.
So is that 5:45 on October 1st? Or are we looking at a date later out?
Well, I personally think the issue is important enough that we should meet at our earliest possible time.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Jeff's available, then that works for me. I don't know if everybody else has an issue.
Well, if I know.
5:45, Selectman Watson?
On the 1st,
On the first?
that's fine.
So it's amenable to everyone on the board. If you'd reach out to Chief Gillen and see if it's amenable to him, we'll try to meet at 5:40. We'll meet at 5:45 on October 1st in the executive session. Hopefully we can conclude that in the 45 minutes allowed and move right into the regular meeting.
Okay.
Anything else, Selectman Wood?
Nope, I'm done.
Great job. Selectmen's reports. We'll begin with Selectman Wood this time at that end of the chair.
Nothing for selectmen reports.
What happened to,
Other items
Other
not reasonably anticipated at time of posting.
Ditto, nothing under that.
Nothing under that, okay. Selectman Carpenter, anything under that, Eddie? Category?
Not reasonably anticipated?
Yes.
No, thank you.
Okay, Selectman Dunn. Selectman Watson.
maybe this is where we could hear from the superintendent.
Certainly, if he has something to say,
I think he's just a visitor, but.
Okay?
Unless you have any questions for me,
Oh, plenty.
I would.
I'll be here all night.
Selectman Watson, if it interests you at all, we have talked about a regular rotating schedule where the superintendent is going to come in and communicate to us on a regular basis the issues he has, any kind of major expenditures he sees down the road, things that may impact the town or the taxes or the residents or the children at all. I believe he's kind of on a rotating basis with us, Merrimack and West Newbury at the present. But he understands from me that he has an open invite to come in and communicate with us at any time he so wishes, and we'll make sure he gets on the agenda, because I think what he has to say is not only important, it's very valuable. And to keep that constant communication going is paramount, in my opinion, to make sure we all pulling the rope in the same direction. So,
Positive step, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I mean, yes, we got a good one here, I think. We got a keeper. Selectman Dunn? Anything?
I'm not under that category, nope.
And Selectman Watson, you've already
Yep, I'm all
expressed
set.
your... Okay, so moving right along, we have Selectmen's reports. We'll start with Mr. Selectman Watson.
I'm all set.
Selectman Dunn.
I'm not on that, like I said, I'm waiting for a few more months to move on the signs, and I have time.
If you could, maybe this Saturday too, you might want to get a photographer or somebody to video what goes on there for a couple of hours, say between 9 and 1 or 2.
Who would do that?
Because if you show some of these sponsors how many eyes are gonna be on their signs, you might generate a lot more interest than you ever thought possible. Last Saturday, you couldn't find a parking space there. They were playing baseball, they were playing softball, they were playing football. The boaters that were there from Haverhill High, as well as other boaters that were using the boat ramp. The basketball court was filled. Oh my God, if I was a sponsor, I'd want a sign there, because it had to be viewed by a
Right.
couple of thousand people there last Saturday.
Right, like, I don't think it'll be a problem getting the signs, I think it's just me, we can't do nothing until the next town meeting anyway, so, I have time basically to, all I need to do is come up with a price sheet, get it over to Denise or Caitlin, and then from there, it's just a matter of waiting until town meeting before we can do anything.
And
But I
get
can
excited.
have that conversation with starting in January with these people about signing them up, I can't take their money until.
Oh, no,
until
but you
we're
can
done.
start generating the
Oh, yeah,
excitement,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Absolutely.
So I have it on the special town meeting warrant to establish that revolving fund for the Pines.
Awesome. Selectman Carpenter
Nothing?
and Selectman Wood.
Nothing.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. We had a meeting Tuesday night, this last Tuesday, of the High School Building Committee, which we actually voted on the specific project to present to the Mass School Building Association. We're optimistic, but there always is a chance that we won't get what we need. There were 151 projects presented to this MSBA last year. Only 51 of those were approved, and not all of them were new building approvals. A lot of them were renovations and repairs. So
What was
Real-
the final vote on the design?
the final vote in the design was N3-3,
Oh,
3.3.
That doesn't tell me anything. What does it mean?
It means it's a new building, high school, middle school combined, 3-floor, with open courtyard.
Okay.
It was the one by far that grew the greatest consensus of everyone in the 3 communities. It was by far the most cost-effective, value-added solution that we could come up with. It was by far the most aesthetically pleasing proposal we saw. It was by far the most traffic-friendly and environmentally complementing project we saw. So it was a unanimous vote by both the school committee and the school building committee to move forward with that project. As I said, there were only 51 out of 151 approved last year. If you know somebody that can help us out, call them, write them, you know, whatever it takes, beg them, plead with them, take them out to dinner, schmooze them, whatever you can. We need this project. We need this to happen. It's vital for this community, it really is. If you haven't
Where's the
been to the
location?
school. The location will be where the existing athletic field is now, where they play football and baseball.
In the rear.
So it'll be behind the existing school now. There are plans to make it as energy efficient and energy, what's the word I'm looking for?
Green,
Green.
reusable and.
Sustainable.
Reusable, sustainable as possible. to lower the cost, maintenance costs going forward.
And if I can just add, it has one of the least impacts on existing students. So students that will
Yes.
be there during the construction period, this has one of the least impacts to them.
And I want you to know, that was very important to me, because I lived through a high school building project right outside my window for 3 years, and that was a major concern of mine. I don't want to see us educate poorly, a couple of years of students while we try to educate greatly the rest of those students, so.
When did that come to a vote of the townspeople in the 3 towns?
It will be at our annual town meeting and our annual town election.
What we've done is coordinated, so nobody has the advantage, nobody has to jump. All the votes are gonna be on the same day in all 3 towns. I urge you and your fellow citizens, if you don't know anything about the project, reach out to people that know something about it. Get informed, get educated on the project, and understand this is the most worthwhile thing you may ever vote for in this town in your lifetime. So please, 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 get behind us and push this project through.
Right, if I can just say, on the school's website, they have a section dedicated just to the building committee, the presentations are on there, the minutes are on there. Data that we've discussed at meetings is on there, so that's a really good resource. People actually want to review the presentations and see some of the discussions that have taken place.
And see some of the hard work and the thought that went into it. There's been a lot of hard work and a lot of thought. This is not a willy-nilly project. It's very well thought out, very well planned, and we really need it to go through. So, again, a great idea. Everything on that website is out there that we've done. And that's about it for my projects. It's a big one, though. It's a big one. We need it. So, moving right along, we have correspondence. But we don't have any this week, so we're gonna move right along even faster. We have Finance Director's time. So you have the spotlight.
Yeah, so a couple things. I wanted to go back to the question of the breakdown on the grants and revolving funds, so I have that here for you. Community preservation, $19,500. The summer program, we're still paying some residual bills, that was $2,300. VZ Park had $6,800. Animal control donations, $120. Insurance recovery was $22,420. That's half the cost of replacing the roof of the salt shed, which was damaged in one of the storms this past winter, so that's all from insurance. $273 library state aid, $1,297 for police dispatch, $230 for the fire safe grant, and that is it. So that makes up that grant and revolving number from tonight's agenda.
Yeah, I don't know if we really want to get down to the $200 mark. I mean, if we looked at that 53 and you told us what 80% of that money was for, I'd be satisfied myself. I don't think we have to get down into the pennies. That's my feeling. Everybody in agreement on that? Sure.
Yeah.
Good?
Sure.
All right.
So I know I was not here last Monday. There were some questions regarding the road commissioner's position. So I will tell you
We
that.
missed you, by the way.
Thank you. That he is planning a November retirement of this year. As of right now, the bill to change him to elected to appointed is still making its way through committee. They're in informal session, so it has been discussed at the House level. It was being submitted through the Senate last I checked, last week. So until that's actually approved, we can't post it. I'll get you a sample job description for your next meeting. I've obtained samples from our surrounding communities. It's very difficult with our specific demographics and job here, because it's very much like a DPW without a DPW. They do a lot more than just road work, so I've had to piece together several job descriptions to get one that really matches what we do here. After speaking with Bob, he said he would happily stay on for 1 day a week if needed to keep the paperwork going. Billy can handle the day-to-day operations and scheduling the work and the guys, but obviously the paperwork will need to be done, payroll, bills. We actually had a phone call this morning with FEMA regarding one of the winter storms that we will get some federal aid on. That's a lengthy process that he normally handles, so he will get that paperwork done as well. He's also willing to come in and sit with whoever's hired to replace him, to just show him where things are, him or her, show them where things are, get them situated in the office and just sort of acclimate them. So that's really where things stand with him.
A quick question for you on that.
Sure.
Pay scale from where you're gonna be going and where we are now, what difference you think?
Well, so that's not my decision.
No, no, I'm not saying, I'm just
right,
saying
but-
from what you're looking at.
It depends.
What was that position currently being paid?
It is currently at 80, I was gonna say 6, but it might be 83. I'll
'Cause I
look
know
that up while we.
West Newbury was just hiring for a position that they're paying over 100,000 for.
Yeah, so West Newbury, though, a couple things, it's a little bit, it is a full DPW over there, so it's a little bit different. However, in talking with them in West Newbury and going through the job description, like I said, ours is sort of a combination of multi-things, so while we may be handling things that West Newbury's not handling, I think in speaking to some people, finance, some members of this board, I think an ultimate goal would be to move forward at some point to a DPW, a quasi-DPW. It may be time to have that discussion about appropriating additional funds if we have available funds at a fall town meeting so that you can hire the right candidate now while we go through that process. Again, that's a discussion that
So what,
we need to have.
what is the process if we move towards a DPW?
So it requires special legislation because we
So-
don't have a
so we have
charter.
another piece, it would have to go before the town.
Correct.
Get voted, so for this cycle, it's unlikely that we would be able to effectuate that.
Correct. Possibly squared away, but we would need special legislation because it's not a full DPW. We could, I believe it would require just town meeting and an election if we wanted to do everything, but because we have a standalone municipal light department, to exclude that from the DPW umbrella, it requires special legislation. He is currently at $84,245. So I do think for DPW, you need a higher range. A qualified existing highway superintendent, probably a little higher as well. It's really gonna be up to, finance, we're meeting on Wednesday, I'll discuss it with them and see what they think. I know that their ultimate goal is DPW, and they really wanted me to work some of those qualifications into a job description so that we hire the right person now to get them ready for that.
Right, and I think we need to be proactive, knowing that that date is coming, and begin to look at that job description.
Yes, so I'll have a sample for you all. Again, it may require some changes if you want to add some different criteria, but I'll have one for you on the next meeting. I did put out a notice to all departments about the fall special town meeting to see if there are any articles that people want to submit. I have that closing October 15th at your meeting. That will give us time to compile them, have council review it, and then post it in time for the November 26th special town meeting.
Are there warrant articles that have been established yet, or no?
Yes, so the police chief sent me over the civil fingerprint. He sent me over two, civil fingerprint, and then another one that has to do with the civil fingerprints and who should be fingerprinted. Liquor license holders, peddlers, hawkers, things like that. We have the article requests from Captain Santapola, is he the captain right now?
I think so.
Oh, related to the
Yes,
age
we're
requirement?
related to the age waiver.
Okay.
Obviously, the recreational marijuana, which is our main focus. And then I have just a few, right now, just a handful of cleanup articles.
Okay.
So I don't expect there to be a lot. I have the establishing the revolving fund for the pine, so there'll be a few. The planning board was hoping to have an additional bylaw for the affordable housing fee that we've discussed. Specifically, we discussed it as it pertains to Nichols Village. They want to rewrite the language because right now, it's based on a calculation of the market rate. They find that confusing. They wanted to put in a set rate. I've been working with council on it to try and draft some appropriate language that actually accomplishes what we want. Part of our difficulty here is we keep getting money from developers putting into our affordable housing trust. We have an affordable housing pot of money under the Community Preservation Act. We have no affordable housing committee. We have no one actively pursuing affordable housing. So my feeling, and I've asked town council to work something in, is the money is great, we want the units. We really need to push developers to, which we can require, when they build over so many units, to require at least one or more be affordable. Because that's what we need. We don't have the resources to build with the money. It just keeps piling up for us.
And what happened to the avenue that Deb Webster was pursuing with Nichols Village?
That is all still with council.
Okay.
So when I talked to him last week, we touched base on several of our pending items, and that is still one that they're going through. That was a lot of information.
Okay.
I think for Nichols Village, the affordable housing piece is sort of over with, but I think we have some avenues to discuss with them what they are established to be versus what they are. So I think that's all right now I have for the special town meeting. I did want to, so again, I wanted to just reiterate Bill's statements at the beginning to thank our fire department for heading out last week. They quickly responded to Lawrence and Andover and North Andover, and they had the central fire station fully staffed should something, God forbid, happen here, if they needed additional resources. I want to just mention that our thoughts go out to Laurie, who is our minutes clerk. She was affected by this. She's back in her home now, but has no gas, and they're expecting it to be several weeks. So I just want to let her know that we are thinking of her during this time, as well as all the other residents of the 3 communities.
But even going a little bit further than that, it was amazing, absolutely amazing, how many other fire departments came from, as far as Lunenburg, Maine. I mean, everyone just stepped up to the plate, and it was just unreal how,
I saw one from Auburn.
yeah. And the thing is how quickly those Lawrence department put the facility at the cinema, and what they did, it was amazing. And the other thing is your hearts go out to these families that lost their child, and, you know, what happened to him, and these people that have gotten hurt and burnt. I mean, you gotta say an extra prayer for them. It's just,
Right.
it's, if a human error possibly, or whatever it might be, it was not needed, and it's just a sad situation. But,
Absolutely. Amen to that.
That's all I have.
All right, well, moving on to Selectmen's time. Not sure which side of the table we'll go, so we'll flip a coin. Selectman Wood, Selectman time.
I'm good.
Selectman Carpenter,
All set?
Selectman Dunn.
so, again, last week I talked about doing a CPA Pines project, and really didn't go anywhere with it. I think we talked about it, but didn't know if this board was willing to do something.
Absolutely. You're talking about the playground.
I'm talking about something.
The playground that's an embarrassment, so,
I know the pavilion needs work.
So I think we should put a charge out for that, because I think are plenty of parents that would want to be part of a committee to explore how we could use CPA funds to better that area, because I think the playground, there's some safety issues there.
oh, huge safety issues. There's one thing I call the concussion. You go up 6 steps and then fall 6 feet, you
Yeah.
know?
So maybe
It's
it's
not
a Pines Playground Betterment Project or something like that and ask parents to maybe be part of a committee to explore what the options are.
Yeah, so I would just say to that, we have all the documentation from we just did the Washington Park Playground.
Mhm.
So we may not even need to take that avenue. If that's something you like, the setup over there, I can get updated prices, and we have a proposal really that we're ready to submit for.
And we can mimic that.
CPA.
So how does that work? Does that go on the warrant?
It goes to, no, so when the Community Preservation Committee starts meeting in December, January, then they'll review the project to submit.
I see.
So we could have one ready just by really using, they have a great setup over there at Washington Park. You know, we could certainly switch out some of the equipment if you wanted a little bit different.
Or expand it. I think it's a little bit bigger park down there.
Yep, but the company was great. They're on the state bid list. They can get us some designs, and I
That'd be
can
great.
have that pretty easily for you.
Miss-
Okay, sorry.
Go, no.
No, that being said, that's a great idea. But that being said, can we expand it into, like, that pavilion needs work? It needs a roof, it's rotten, that needs work. Can we expand it into doing the playground, but then incorporating other stuff that we need down there?
Yeah, you certainly can. I don't have that expertise to then know. I mean, I think some of those projects, we really should try and get into a better relationship with Whittier and be using those students. I think they're a great resource. We do not utilize them enough to do
I think
repair
it's just
work.
because we haven't asked, though.
Right, no, I agree, but because we're not,
Because we did use them to build a book shed a
Yep.
few years back, and they were great. So it's just a matter of reaching out to them.
right. So, and they're very willing. I've talked to them. They keep asking if we have projects. So stuff like that we could get them involved in. We buy the materials. So we could certainly include it in that. Or if you want to bring someone else in, I would need someone else to actually do that scope and stuff, because I don't know enough about that.
Why don't we start with you reaching out to Whittier and seeing if they could come assess and see the needs, and then this board could vote on doing that.
Sure.
Gee, while you're at it, can they finish the bathroom.
You got a plumbing program over
They
there.
got a plumbing program. I did, bet
The
they got
bathrooms, have
electrical.
you not seen, the trucks have been there around the clock.
Oh, no, I work.
Well,
Go down there after.
They're not down there when I'm down there,
they're down there all day working.
are they? And
They are.
ETA, first flush?
Tomorrow.
No, because we still have to figure out exactly what equipment we need to not cause issue down there with being an unmonitored bathroom. So all the plumbing is done. Right now, they're working on putting the partitions in the stalls and finalizing the floor. They've done all the electrical. Now we just have to go through and order the finished products.
Are there any plans to do anything with the exterior look of the building?
I don't think so. They already did some exterior work. They put the little overhang, they connected them, they added some, I don't know that they would do anything else at this point. Maybe plant some trees or something around it, but I haven't really gotten into that point. But they are actively working. They were down there again all day today.
And given the lateness of the year, is this something that could possibly take place this year?
I
Or
don't,
is it probably more than likely next spring again?
it probably, I'm assuming they'll be done for this year. I don't know if we'll have the availability to have the water running. I don't know. I really don't know when the appropriate time is to blow lines out that are outside. That I
In the
don't know.
next few months, yeah.
Yeah, well,
So.
you're only gonna get another month or so
Yeah.
before you're gonna have to shut it down. If we even get it open by then.
The the sidewalks are scheduled to be done on Gardner Street. We're waiting for them to come in this week, I believe. And then they're looking to do the finished paving. Right now, it's within the next 2 or 3 weeks. The company is behind, and they need to wait for the sidewalks to be finished. So that is still on target to be done. It's just we need a few things to happen first.
So I'm gonna try and go back to the CPA project.
Hmm?
So we got dwarfed into having Whittier do it, but I'm thinking, yeah, Whittier could probably do the pavilion and stuff, but I'm thinking more of a project, like possibly equipment.
I think she already said she was gonna get us the
You mean the
numbers and stuff.
playground?
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna move forward with that.
Yeah.
With getting you guys a quote on what we've already done and just
So you're,
getting the company to give us a proposal, because then you all have to vote to submit it as an article to CPA.
right, but
CPC.
that's, I'm thinking bigger.
Okay.
I'm thinking big. I'm thinking doing that, but then possibly doing something else that we need to get done down there, you know what I mean?
Like what?
Well, that's the thing we need to figure out.
I mean, I think there has been some
If you have an
discussion
idea
that,
of
We
what
have
we need
tennis
to
courts
get
that
done.
need, I mean, we have a lot of
That
things.
goes back to recreation, and we've got to bring them in. I know Mike has been attending to some family business, but if you missed that meeting, but I had asked them to spell out item by item by item, what left to be done, time frame, ETA, when it's going to be done, ETA's cost,
For the fields.
for everything down there, what
But
they
they
can
have
charge of.
repeatedly said to us, they've said, they only want to deal with that one field.
Right, so they don't have anything right now. I mean, maybe they're preparing to submit another article. Their funds will not get them much further.
I think what Selectman Dunn's talking about is there was some discussion of a splash
Mhm.
pad, and that there was a group put together that I think one of the pastors from the Groveland Congregational Church was leading, to
Correct.
talk
Okay,
about the
So
splash
that could be
pad.
one thing for a splash pad, and I was actually thinking maybe the other field that's not there or something.
Yeah, but I would just say to that is, I really think you need to understand what's needed for fields. You know, I sit there and see them, I don't really see that we need more baseball or softball fields, so I think, I don't know. I think you really need to figure out what is necessary in that
What's
additional
that,
green space.
you know the area that they, when they built it, there's a lower area, when you come down the driveway on the
Yep.
left, it's been left
So
T-bait.
that was going to be a tennis
That
court,
was
but
gonna
then
be
they
a tennis
abandoned that plan, so I
So
don't know.
that's not gonna be a tennis court no more.
It certainly can, I think,
All
if
right,
there's
so
still
this
enough
Doesn't
is
need
what
to
room
be, though,
there.
because we have brand-new tennis courts
Right.
at the middle school. There's no need for tennis courts down there.
Right, so you could work that into a splash pad or something, whatever. You could redo the basketball courts or expand the basketball courts. I mean, there's plenty of things we can do, it's just a matter of what.
Does the
this group
boat
and the
ramp need to go
community.
any further? Is that at the point where it's done completely?
The only thing we need
done.
to do with the boat ramp
New, boat,
is,
New pair.
new piers.
yes, but we need a new gate. Eventually, my plan is to put in an electronic gate like we have down at the highway.
Yep.
Because right now, I'm buying new lock and keys every year for 150 or 200 people.
Right.
And it's just the cost of replacing those. I'd really rather have like either a key fob or something that we can give to people and then deactivate, or like a card, so that we can deactivate it when they don't renew, and it'll be a little easier. And
I've heard a lot of people
Crossing.
complaining that the docks are unsafe. A lot of people.
the docks, I don't think, there's some,
Broken
because,
boards.
yeah, but we're using the Haverhill High School put their docks down there, and those stayed there all summer long, so.
Maybe that's what the problem is then.
No, because they're using like a resin one, I
So,
believe, so.
so it sounds like we want to go with only doing the play equipment right now, and that's it.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think maybe we have to take a fresh approach and look down there and say, what would we like done? Like the basketball court, like the playground, maybe a splash pad, maybe this, maybe that. And then put it together and see what it would look like, and then make recommendations from there. Is this something that Mr. Dempsey can see himself getting behind? Would be one of my questions. I think it'd be a very worthwhile project. I think it'd be something he'd be worth getting behind. Okay, there you go. So-
Yeah, I mean, I think you could certainly do, I don't know if we have enough time to do anything really
This year.
big right now, but you could certainly do things like adding some benches around there, maybe some little bleachers that you
Right.
could get. You know, those
Trees.
things we can put in, some shade trees and stuff. I think the playground is something we can easily get accomplished for this coming cycle, and then really figuring out what you want to do
So,
in the bigger
so that
picture.
being said, do we need to have a committee per se?
I honestly think we should,
It might be easier.
because there's, like Newburyport has a skate park.
We've had requests for that, too.
If we have the space and we're not going to do tennis courts, how do we optimize that space to really meet the needs of the various people in town? And I think putting together a committee, maybe they do a needs assessment, sort of like the,
whole kind
yeah.
of-
I will say, one suggestion I had mentioned to the chair last week was, at some point, I think this board could consider doing more of a community survey. Could be included with the tax bill, 1 page or 2 pages front and back, with just some general questions about what you'd like, what the residents would like to see here. Do we need more fields? Do we need tennis courts? Do you could take it to, would you like to see more businesses?
Would you like to see the town move toward a town manager? Would you like to see the town move toward a full-fledged DPW department?
Right.
Things like that would give
people
us some
respond?
Right, I
feedback
agree.
on where the
I think it's something like
electorate
that.
I agree.
think people
wants to
might
go
buy
with their
into.
tax dollars.
Right.
And it would give us some direction on
Right.
where
Well,
we
I
should
think, I think
be
that's definitely a good starting point. They
Yeah, I
did it
mean,
in
I
West
think-
Newbury.
Right, I think
That's
if
how
you
they
put
started their
together
town
some
manager thing.
questions, right, more of sort of an overlook of the community, and then it gives this board some direction for projects. So if
Right.
people say they want a DPW, you know that that's a priority. You're not gonna cover everything, you're not gonna get everyone to respond, but at least it's a good, do we need a separate senior center? I mean, you could incorporate that into it.
Right, so if we ask the questions at a 50,000-foot level, the ones we get yes, we begin to
So-
go down
Right.
even further.
So
in
that being
great
said,
detail.
could that be something that Caitlin could put together and get it ready for the next time, whatever Bill?
Yeah, well, I think you guys need to really figure out what topics you want, and then we could certainly put the questions together and get it out.
So that probably sounds like that would have to be an agenda item for one night that we talk, and we all come in with our ideas.
Yep.
And they can make a list.
Yep.
And I think the ideal thing would be to make a list and have people rank the importance, and then
Right.
we could aggregate that information,
Yep.
and it would
Right.
provide us with what the community thinks is the most important
Give
need.
us a little matrix to.
Yes.
I mean,
See
so
which way
things
we're
like
going.
that, do you think we need a skateboard park? I mean, you could certainly ask, and then that helps you build what you want. You could still work with the committee, but at least it gives you some direction on really what the
Right.
residents would like to see happen here.
Right.
We don't have a way to reach out to everyone, we don't have media coverage, we certainly have our website and social media. We can put surveys on there, but I think at least putting a paper, survey in, people can drop it off when they make their payments, or maybe we give them a link to go online with a code or something. At least it gets you some feedback from the residents on
Could
a
they
bunch
send
of
it in with
different
their tax
topics.
bill or
Yep.
their light bill or something?
Yep,
Kind of what we're thinking.
yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, 100%, but still get some prices on the play equipment.
Right, so I'll get you that and I'll talk to Whittier.
Let's do
Yep.
something.
Yeah, those I think we can easily take care of. This is sort of separate from that.
Okay, I'll let you go. I'm done.
Selectman Watson?
Yeah, just to expand on what Bill had mentioned, some communities have solved the problem on locking and unlocking the bathrooms at their facilities with a time-controlled locking system, where it would lock at a certain time, unlock at a certain time. If there was anybody inside, they would be able to get out, but it would automatically lock on the way in. And I don't know what the cost is on that, but some of the communities have same issues as we have. Who's gonna unlock it, who's gonna lock them up? And that may be a way to go with that. And then, on September 11th, we had a shot, a 9/11 ceremony, and afterwards, I was looking at the outside of the fire station, the central fire station, and some of the fascia board on that station is rotted. It looked like there was some problems up on the roof area, which got me to thinking that perhaps if we could get the selectmen, the building inspector together, and view all town buildings with the department heads, to look at what repairs needed to be done. Now, obviously, in our homes, if we have a problem, we take care of it. Looking at the fascia board over at the station, that's something that didn't just happen this year. So I'd like to see, maybe we could get the selectmen together, view all the town buildings, with the idea of coming up with a warrant article for the annual town meeting to take care of some of these problems. And we got a lot of town buildings. We need to take care of them. They are expensive, and I think we need to take a look at the buildings so that we know ourselves. I know all the members of the Board of Selectmen probably been in all of the town buildings, and I think it would be a good idea to do that and just see what repairs need to be done, draw up the warrant article, and get these taken care of.
To tell you the truth, that's what capital is all
I was gonna say,
about.
that falls under capital technically.
I know the 4 years I sat on capital, and I would tell the chief of police and the chief, the fire chief, I'm not only interested in your vehicles and your equipment, I'm interested in your infrastructure. What's your building like? Is the roof, the doors, what's the security, the communication? It's not just about this finite little thing. Capital involves everything, and I would always encourage them to go back and examine their entire area of responsibility from the ground up and look and say, do I need a new roof? Not just do I need another length of fire hose, or do I need another police cruiser? Those, in my opinion, they're kind of the cheaper things. The roofs and buildings are much more expensive, and that's where we had to, my opinion, that's where big dollars are spent, and I encourage them always to go back and re-examine every year, and if it was in need, or they saw there was something, let's put it on the plan. Let's
Well-
get it on the radar and let's talk about it.
Well, with all due respect, I've heard that for 3.5 years, that it's the responsibility of the finance or capital improvement, whatever. But I haven't seen any requests come before, since I've been on the Board of Selectmen, come before the board for an article to take care of some of these. So let's take the lead on this, and look at the buildings, see what needs to be done, and draw up the article.
Well, you haven't seen anything simply because your department heads haven't felt the need that it was required. Again, I sat there for 4 years, and I would implore each and every department head to go back and not just tell me they need a new vehicle, but tell me if they need a new roof, tell me if they need new doors, tell
Well,
me if they need new floors.
If you take a look at the front of the central fire station and you see that fascia board, that's not something that happened just within the last year.
I agree.
That's something that's happened within, probably within the last 4 years.
I wouldn't
So-
disagree. So where's your department head bringing that forward to capital, to finance, to the BOS? We can't be responsible to tour every building every year to see what's going on. We need to rely on the people we pay, the
I agree
people who are
with you.
responsible
I
for
agree
those
with you,
areas,
but-
to come forward and say, hey, I'm gonna need this down the road. So where is that
I agree with you,
accountability?
but if our buildings are a great asset. Let's not let them deteriorate.
I
And
would
if-
agree.
But before you make any additional comments, go look at that building. And that's the only one that I really know. I'll take a look at the outside of some of the others. But if we haven't been notified by either the department heads or capital improvement, let's take a look at it ourselves. What harm is it for the selectmen to go view these buildings? not only view them building to see what condition they're in, but it would get the members of the board familiar with what some of these buildings look like.
There's no harm at all, and if you have the time, I encourage you, go ahead, knock yourself out.
Well, I think it should be done by the whole Board of Selectmen, along with the building inspector. There's a
Well-
lot of buildings in town, and they're worth a lot of money.
I would agree, and time permitting, I would agree to go on that, but again, I go back to, I'm paying someone has that area of responsibility, and I expect someone to be accountable, and someone to take responsibility for their entire department, infrastructure included. Shoot.
I'm asking Denise.
Yes, so
The new
just,
janitor, is he responsible for outside these buildings?
yes and no. I mean, he's responsible to some extent. He's not responsible to repair a roof, obviously.
No, no,
We would
but-
have to then, he did, and I had to ask Mike, because I didn't know what you were speaking of, Ed. He had to draw a diagram. Our custodian just did, if you look at the front of the fire station, the doors, they're all rusted at the bottom. He actually just repaired all that, sanded it down, patched it up, so there are no more holes in the doors going in. But I have applied for a grant through our insurance company for not only facility software, but for them to come out and do a capital assessment of all our existing infrastructure. They would look at our boilers, our roofs, and actually give us an assessment of ages, when it should be replaced, and actually build our database in our facility software, so then we can maintain that with service records going forward. Hopefully, we will be awarded that, and then they would start right around November, with actually coming out and doing a lot of that inventory for us.
So that would be like central in South Station?
It would be all the buildings.
All buildings?
Yep, well, not the ancillary buildings, South Groveland, Central Fire Station, the police station, town hall, and the library. Not the other buildings, I didn't include sort of the highway and things like that.
How does the Bagnell fall under? Is that under their lease? They take care of the outside of that building and all that?
It's up for debate.
Is
Okay.
different interpretation.
So we don't want it to fall apart.
We handle some of it, they handle some of it.
Okay.
But we've agreed to help each other wherever we can to make sure the students are safe, secure, and happy.
It's all good.
As best as possible. All set, Selectman Watson?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to talk, so I'm gonna go through a couple of things. One is, old business. Personnel handbook, where are we with that? I know it's died many a merciless death. I'm not gonna see it happen this time. I wanna see this happen.
So I met with them in August. They had presented me with a draft to go through and sort of, they wanted to present some ideas and see how it would work with our current structure and certain things. I gave them some suggestions back. They were going to revise those and provide a draft. I do know they have not met since, all of their schedules have not aligned. Their plan at that meeting was to have something to the board for you guys to review, discuss, and approve sometime around January, that the approval will take place in January with the July 1st, 2019 implementation. That way it gives employees plenty of time to sort of work into the new changes. I do want to caution that there's been a lot of scuttlebutt around here about this process. When I met with the committee, their intention was to grandfather employees in, I believe it was they were gonna do a 3-year look back. So anyone hired in the last 3 years falls under the new policy, everyone prior to that falls under their existing structure. People have been very nervous about what they're gonna lose for benefits, but there is a grandfathering clause in their proposal. But they've looked at, obviously, time, they've looked at building in, a performance review section, they've updated a grievance section.
Bless you.
So they've really picked different sections and focused on them. All of the policies, the general policies are being removed and going into a separate policy handbook that we're doing with the grant that I got through town council, or through the state, working with town council. So I do expect them to have a more final draft once they can actually get together and meet. And then they'll have it ready for you guys to review and discuss.
Terrific. Speed bumps at the Pines, have we pushed that discussion any further ahead? I know there's been some pushback because it makes it difficult to plow, but we're not the only ones in New England have speed bumps and snow.
No, and I need to follow up because Bob was meeting, the last time we spoke about it, he was meeting with someone that had, because one of the difficulties if we put the portable ones in was you have to drill them into the asphalt, and he didn't really like that idea.
Neither do I.
But there was a new type that he was looking at that was sort of a platform-based speed bump, so it wasn't your typical bump. It
I've
has sort
seen
of a
that they're
gradual
kind of a
flat.
metal,
Yeah, so he was looking into that, and to be honest, I just haven't followed up to see what his thoughts were on that. I know originally, when he was thinking of doing the asphalt bump, it was gonna be when they paved Gardner and came back out here. So maybe that's still in the works. I just, I will follow up with him, because I haven't touched base on that.
anything that would slow those people down.
It'd probably
would
be
great.
cheaper to have them come out when they're doing the gardener,
Yeah, that's what he was gonna plan to do.
and then just paint them orange, or yellow, or whatever. They're here anyway,
Yep.
they're all set up.
And one last thing. How are we doing with the microphones? I know that we were looking at purchasing some new microphones because there were some audio issues with the audience, and we're thinking these new microphones might fix that. Have we got anywhere with that at all?
We're looking into that.
How long are we going to continue to look into it before we actually decide on making a purchase of some upgraded equipment? I know that we discussed this, I'd have to say, 3 months ago.
Well,
Is that calling for a timeout?
I
Go.
just
Yeah,
figured
well, absolutely.
I've gotta
Sure,
follow
sure.
rules just like everyone else.
Oh, yeah, not special. Oh, you are in a way, but
Tracy Guilford, Chairperson of the Cable Advisory Board. I have been told that they were looking at what other towns and cities have been using, so we can get hopefully something better. The other thing I tasked him with was, we had complaints that some people are very soft-spoken on the board, and some people in the audience cannot hear them. So we were also looking into the speaker systems in here. I said, are not, as you know, sometimes we try to turn it up, and then we end up with feedback. I go, I've been to towns and cities, other places where they have something. I know it can be done. I need something, because I'd like to tie that all in as one package, update the microphones, fix the sound system. I said, because I'd like it to do two things: be functional for the people who are listening at home, and be functional for the people who are listening here. So we're working on that.
Before you got here tonight, Chris was here earlier, and there's a handheld in front of you, or was laying right there.
Yep.
And he said that now we're down to 0 handhelds. So he said, we really need to do something soon, and you're right, he looked up at that thing, he goes, that's gotta be taken care of as well, so,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
he
they're
said
looking
that
to
it's
tie
getting
it all
bad,
in
so
together, so they're looking at different
maybe sooner
vendors
than later.
and looking at different things that would work for here.
is there an estimated time frame that you plan on culminating this project?
I'll give you an update at your next meeting.
Appreciate it.
How often does your board meet?
We haven't met in a while because up until now, we did not have basically a quorum. Now, with your appointment of Carl Judson, there was just Eddie and myself on the board. Now that we have that third person, we can start meeting.
What type of funds are currently available to you and to the Cable Advisory?
I'm sure there's sufficient funds to make that happen.
Do you have, well, plenty, somewhere between a bit more than $1 and less than $1 million?
Yeah.
Can we zero in on that?
I think it's
number?
140,000.
I can,
We
I
used
just
to-
shut down, but give me a second. We had, I think we get like 30-something thousand a quarter. I think we had 180,000 in there. We
Yep.
spent money for the we probably still have around 180,000, 100.
Right.
And
So-
when's the next deposit, we'll say?
We just got one, probably July, so yeah, maybe October.
So it will be.
So funds are adequate?
We've tried different things, because if you look back here, these were our original set, which were really good at one point, but the problem with these was they were hardwired, and the selectmen at the time were worried about tripping hazard. So we changed to a different system. We once had the microphones dangling down from the ceilings, because that way we didn't have a tripping hazard. But again, the problem is when people sometimes, instead of projecting to the audience, no disrespect, but sometimes you have discussions with each other, and when people turn away from the microphones, that wasn't projecting
Maybe we should
to
get
the people.
headsets.
Well, that's the other thing.
Like the
I
drive-through.
mean, I would like to at least explore,
Order.
I might
Pizzas.
want to suggest that
French
we
fries.
rent something, you know, because I go, my church, my pastor wears a little headset. It doesn't matter where he turns his head, it's picked up by the PA system.
Right. You're
I won't be
speaking
wearing a
into,
headset, I can guarantee you that.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're not like the old
Just like when you sing, the thing
headsets, but,
Yeah.
you know,
what
we-
happens to those little things you used to be able to clip to the
the
lapel?
lavalier, same thing, you know, sometimes, you know, if people they didn't always pick up. You know, if people were down to this, would pick up when they're projecting or turning left or right, it wouldn't always, you know, it depended on the person's outfit sometimes where they clip their microphone. So one particular thing doesn't always work for everyone. It might, since Bill doesn't like the idea of this on his head, maybe I may suggest that we try a rental of some of that equipment first to see what it does.
But with the kind of money that you have to spend, you should be able to get top of the line.
I
Or
know,
whatever you
but,
need, right?
but again, the problem has been, you know, and again, sometimes it's a question of replacing the
Is there a
stuff.
company that you buy these from?
Yes, there's a company we buy
So
them
if
from.
your committee went around and they said, hey, listen, we're interested in buying some microphones, can they bring them in one meeting, we try them, and then try another one, another meeting, and then
Yeah.
we kind of see what's working
Yeah.
the best instead of
Yeah.
renting?
Well,
If they want our
again-
business, they're gonna bring them in and put them in front of us, and we're
Yep.
gonna use them, and then we're gonna
Yep.
buy them if they work.
So yes,
That's in their best interest.
that is in process
Okay.
and will be taken care of.
Terrific.
All right?
Thank you for
All
your
right.
time. Appreciate it.
Before you adjourn, the police chief has confirmed October 1st at 5:45, so you guys are good for that night.
He is so efficient. He's good, he's good. All right.
Motion to adjourn at 9:07 PM?
Denied.
You know, I was done.
You said that was the last thing.
I lied, maybe. No, I'm good.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, all those in favor of adjournment? Terrific.
All those opposed?
And I need signatures, please. You guys missed a whole sheet last.